afternoon, live chat 103 here on Brooks's Bass Corner, coming to you live from London town here in the UK. We've got spring here. It's lovely and sunny outside. I have to keep the blinds pulled though, because otherwise the light interferes with the lights and everything. But anyway, I can assure you, here in London, we've got 16, 17 degree sunshine. Holy cow, we're coming out of winter at last into spring, so it's pretty good here. Hope you're all safe and well wherever you are on the planet. Hope your bass playing's going excellently. So we're almost a quarter of the way through the year. The months fly by. January lags on and seems to take forever to finish. We fly through February and here we are halfway almost through March. So it's going crackers. Next week I'm going to get a real shock to my system because I've got 3 sort of full-on gigs Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I haven't had a run of 3 since December. So it's going to be interesting. So I can see people are coming in already. Stacey Ann from North Carolina, good to see you. Bill Clements, hello, sir. Hope you're well. Everyone's saying hello, good morning. Excellent. That's all good. So live chat 103. Here on Brooks's Bass Corner. You're very welcome. Come on in. We're talking bass guitars, bass amps, bass effects, bass accessories, strings, gig bags, maintenance equipment, cleaning stuff. If you're trying to set your bass up, if you're trying to build a pedal board from scratch, maybe you got your first audition coming up playing bass for a band, you don't know what to do, come on in. We're a friendly bunch. We will guide you through what you need to do to get those great gigs, build good pedal boards, keep your gear working. If your bass isn't playing ball or your amp's being a pain or maybe your pedal's not working quite as it should, come in and ask us. If I don't know the answer or I just don't have the information to help you, then I'm sure one of the fine people here on Brooks's Bass Corner live chats will know the answer. We're all about sharing the knowledge, so if you got any problems with gear, let us know. West Fork, good to see you. How's that Status King bass doing? Now that you've got it all up and running and the strings are in, and let me know. West Fork got in touch about a week and a half ago, replacing the strings for the first time. Couldn't quite suss out where to put the double ball end strings, and anyway, we got him sorted, and he said, wow, suddenly his bass has come to life. It's got brand new strings on it. That's what happens with a Status. You think you know how they sound and the strings get old and you think, oh, it's still great. Yeah, lovely. And then you put a new set on and suddenly the Status sound appears. Yeah, it kind of takes your breath away a bit. And I can tell you, as someone who's played many a Status bass and still owns quite a few, they all sound different. So if I got all my Status basses out of the racks and I restrung all of them, the fresh out of the packet string sounds on all the models is totally different, completely different. Lots of people think they know how a Status is going to sound in their head. They've heard like lots of examples, other people playing them. You think, oh, it's going to be lots of zingy, twangy, da-da-da-da-da. And then you boost the bottom end and you start adjusting mid-ranges and what have you. It makes a big difference, and you suddenly realize, oh, actually this bass does a whole lot more than the thing that they probably associate with the Status. So happy playing, Westford. I hope you enjoy that bass. Steffi, good to see you. Steffi caught up with our friend Neil Fairclough this week while he was over in Germany playing with the Billy Joel songbook. Hope the chap's doing well. So here we go. What was I going to say? So last week, request show. Right here, I've got to get into this little diatribe. So, as you know, on last week's live chat, I said I did a Queen tribute gig on the Thursday at Boysdale Restaurants in Canary Wharf, which is owned by Jules Holland. And I filmed all the vlog and I did all the video and I did the sound check and the travelling in and filmed the gig and the bit at the end and on my way home, and that was all cool and all the footage was on my phone. And then after last Saturday's live chat, I had another gig, vlog 5, doing the request show at Greek Street Live around the corner from Ronnie Scott's in the centre of London. filmed the intro, filmed the journey to the tube, got on the tube, filmed a bit of that, got to the gig, did a little talk thing when we came out of the Soho Square and how I'd bought a couple of my basses from there and blah, blah, blah. Filmed the gig, filmed on the way home, did the final thing. All good, all on my phone, which is in my back pocket. Actually, just reminded me I better turn the volume off. That's good. Polished as ever, Mike. Well done. Right, let's turn that off. Thank you. And we'll just put that on flight mode as well. There we are. Fabulous. So I had all that footage here on my phone. So some of you may know I got a new phone a couple of weeks ago, and it's lovely and it's fabulous. It does all lots of things, but it doesn't like connecting to my PC that I use here. It has no problems connecting to my Windows 11 laptop, but it does not like my Windows 10 PC. Even with the cable that came with it, I don't have a USB-C connection on this main PC, but I do on the laptop. So in a roundabout fashion, I have to connect this phone to my laptop, pull the videos off, then put them onto a drive, bring that drive through, and then connect that to my PC. Simple, easy, not difficult. I left it until Tuesday, and I thought, right, I need to get that footage off, need to get these gig vlogs up here on the channel. Pulled the files from the phone to the laptop, easy, done, no problem. All sat there in a folder. Then I had a memory stick. It's here. You know where this is going. I can see I've written a note on it. This drive might be FUCKED, not visible to hard drives. Right. So anyway, I put that memory stick in my laptop. It's 32 gig. The files, so I had 2 gig vlogs, one with 3 sets, one with 2 sets, sound checks, travel, all of that. The files came to about 38 gig. So I couldn't do them in one hit onto that memory stick. So I left the big files, which were the performance, like the live performance. Most of those were 6 to 7 gig. Roughly a 45-minute to 1 hour set is about, it's kind of between 6 and 7 gig per set. So I thought, right, leave the big files, get all the smaller stuff, all the photos and the little sort of interconnecting videos on that memory stick, go and put them on the main PC. So I dragged and dropped them, copied them over. They were all there. I safely removed that USB stick from my laptop, brought it through here to the PC, and it didn't recognize it. Couldn't see it. I'm like, oh, that's a bit weird. What I'd forgotten to do, which I've always told myself to do, but in a blurry moment of confusion, I cut the files and then pasted them. Normally I would copy them, so at least I'm retaining the originals in one place. I cut them. Took that memory stick back to the laptop. Laptop wasn't finding it either. I'm like, this ain't good. Went in a disk management. It could see it, but it wouldn't appear in my file manager. And it was saying there was nothing on that memory stick. And I'm like, well, those files have to be somewhere. They're somewhere here. Where are they? They weren't on the PC that you could see. So something had happened in the process of dragging and dropping or copying them over. And at the same time, my laptop was doing a Windows update. Huge. It took about 4 3/4 hours to do that. Those files just disappeared. Couldn't find them. So I started there. So then I put another, like a Western Digital passport drive onto that laptop. Got the big files. So I've still got the performance files. Thank God. They were onto that drive. That was fine. I disconnected that drive, brought it through. Yep, can see all those. They're safe. Thank God. I can't replicate the performance. So then I started putting file recovery software onto that laptop. Now, I had this a couple of years ago when the hard drive here on my main PC, desktop PC, just gave up the ghost. And back then, you were lucky if you were able to salvage a gig of files for free. Otherwise, you've got to pay for the software to do it. And it's roughly about 80 quid, which doesn't seem like a huge amount. But, you know, I've had one drive go wrong in 31 years of computer ownership. I didn't really want to spend 80 quid. So started putting all this software on the laptop. Things have improved. You can actually now get 2 gig of files recovered for free. But unfortunately, some of the files just completely disappeared. So I spent Tuesday night for about 5 hours. Didn't get to bed till 2:45. And then most of Wednesday trying to salvage what I could still get of the stuff that I'd lost. So big lesson here to me, to all of you, back your stuff up. If you're video editing, doing stuff on YouTube, back your video files up on the device or from the device that you record them on. Normally I'm pretty good with all this stuff, but my mind was a bit jumbled on Tuesday. I had a lot of things all going on, and I just thought, oh, do it as a quick job, and I ballsed it up. Thankfully, I managed to salvage probably about 3/4 of what I thought I had. Unfortunately, I've lost the sound check files for the Queen show. They're just nowhere. I can't find them. I then found a piece of software, and I'm going to do a little video which I'm going to stick into my general tips playlist here on the channel. I found a piece of software that allowed you to download 2 gig for free, and it was really easy to use. The only down point is it doesn't give you a preview of what that file is. But thankfully, another piece of software that wanted to charge me loads of money to retrieve the files would give you a video preview of what that file is. So it would give you the file name, give you the size, the file size, and it would give you 15 seconds, of preview. So I could see, so I kind of had a list of what those files should be. And thankfully, going into the good file retrieval software, I was able to match up those file sizes to the files it was finding. So like I say, I got about 3/4 of what I thought I'd lost back. So that's why there've been no gig vlogs gone up this week, because I'm trying to work out how I can make gig vlog 4 watchable and enticing and entertaining and informational and educational without the sound check footage. I've got the performance footage, I've got some of the travel, I've got the preamble. I don't have the final sort of getting back to my car and saying, well, that's what happened on tonight's gig, and so I don't have that bit. So I need to redo that. I kind of know what I said. So the lesson to everyone: back your files and folders and all your stuff up. I should have learned from when I lost the hard drive here on my main PC, and usually I'm pretty good with it, but for some reason I just didn't back up what was on my phone, and I should have sort of, rather than cut and paste the files onto the memory stick, I should have copied them, because if I'd copied them, then they would still exist on the laptop hard drive. There we go. I learned a lesson. But anyway, that's why there hasn't been any long form content up on the channel this week. And also, the other reason there hasn't been long form content is because I've been doing a series of shorts taken from the bass collection video from 2 years ago. And those shorts are absolutely flying, creating really good views for the channel, lots of interaction, extra subscribers, lots of comments. So I didn't want to ruin the flow of those videos. And 2 of them, normally a short will do its thing within 24 to 36 hours. A couple of those videos have been going into 48 hours and still gaining really good numbers. So I didn't want to sort of blow that out of the water. So next week, well, actually from tomorrow, there's going to be a long form video up tomorrow. And then through this week, I'll get as much out as I can before I get to gigging time next weekend, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's all go. So when I spoke to you last, I had the request show last Saturday, had no gigs through this week, and thank God, because on top of all the crises with the hard drives and the files, I've had a stinking cold for 3 days, little bit bunged up, but I'm all right. And tonight is my first gig of this week, request show again. And then next week I've got a depth gig with Supersonic Queen down in Poole in Dorset. I've got Uncle Funk at the Drill Hall in Ware in Hertfordshire. So that's next Saturday. And then Sunday, I've got This Is Queen down in Plymouth, in Loo. So it's a busy old week next week, and other things going on as well. So it's all go, isn't it? It's all go. I can see people appearing here. Right, Westfort status is doing great, excellent. I have done a couple of gigs on it, fabulous, and it's such a blast to play, superb. Steffi, trip to Berlin was beautiful, but way too short. Neil's doing well, was very kind and lovely as always. Show was awesome, can't wait to see them all again, excellent. Keith Doherty, is it an Android? Yes. If so, is your phone set up to back up to Google Drive? It was, and the first couple of days I had it was when I did Gig Vlog 3 on the ABBA show. And I filled up my Google Drive by filming a set. I filled the whole show. So when we did 2 nights of ABBA, I filmed the first night, didn't look at my phone until I got to the hotel that night, and I was getting all these flags, messages from Google saying, your Google Drive's full, your Google Drive's full, because on my old phone, I'd turned that off, and I hadn't turned it off on the new phone, and what had happened was the phone had used venue Wi-Fi that as it was filming the video, it was putting it up in the Google Drive, completely filled that, so I turned it off. That's why those files weren't backed up. First thing I did was went to Google Drive, thought, did I turn that off or not? And I did. So I will sort something out. But basically, when I'm filming gigs, as I say, if you do 2 1-hour sets, that's over 7 gig per set. Well, that's your Google Drive gone. And actually, Microsoft OneDrive is only 5 gig unless I pay for stuff. I'm trying to sort of be budget conscious here because I haven't been sort of blessed with lots of gigs since New Year. So I will have to sort something out. But normally, you see, when I film a gig or do vlogs and stuff, as soon as I get home, I'd connect my phone to my desktop PC, drag and drop everything, back it all up, back it up onto another drive, and then I've got it. This phone won't allow me to connect to this PC, although later this year I'm going to have to buy a new PC anyway because Windows 10 is going to be redundant. I've had this PC 9 years. It's time to upgrade again. So that will sort itself out. I'll get there somehow. Don't worry. Patrick Sweeney, but thank you for your consideration, Keith. Cheers. Patrick Sweeney, afternoon. Mike and everyone. Yeah, good to see you. How are you doing? You'll be back out gigging, doing festivals shortly, I'd imagine. Same as me. Yeah. So if anyone's got new gear, the topic of today, based on the YouTube title, the video, the live chat, is supercharge your bass player. So we all hit those sort of plateaus. Everyone does it. I've had it many times in my career. You think you're going along, you're working great, and you just go, I've got no ideas. Well, how do I get better? How do I improve? What do I do next? There's never a one stock answer for that. There's lots of things that contribute to those plateaus. I remember hitting one probably a year after I started playing, and then probably another one a couple of years after that. It depends what you're trying to achieve with your bass player. I mean, I've been very fortunate. I've been so busy for the best part of 25 years that usually when a plateau comes along, I end up being so busy that what was causing the plateau goes out the window anyway, and suddenly my playing takes another direction or a different course. Getting involved in different projects, playing with different bands will get you out of many a rut. Playing with different people, adjusting your playing to a different drummer can make a big change. There's lots of things you can do in your own time at home, practicing, learn different material, read up on some theory, applying that, follow some YouTube videos. There's lots of ways to get out of ruts, but they do often come at the most unexpected time, and you can think you're going along great and your playing's getting good and you're able to play things you couldn't play before, and and suddenly you're in a rut, and it's like, I'm just playing the same thing. When I pick up a bass, my hands automatically play the same thing. You got to break out of those Knowing how to do it is half the problem. I will always say, and this has always worked for me when I've hit a sort of a point where I think I'm just not progressing, I'm not getting any better. I have a copy of the Shadows of Motown book over there, which I've shown on the live chat multiple times. I can't get at it because I've got pedal boxes, tubs of pedals here stacked in front of me. I can't get to the book, but I can see it right there. If you do nothing else this year, invest in a copy of the Shadows of Motown. It's actually called Standing in the Shadows of Motown. It's a fabulous book. I think these days you get it with CDs, or it might be online downloadable tracks, but it's really a great book. It's where so many bass players got their education from, was playing James Jamerson, Bob Babbitt stuff. And just sitting down and going through those tracks and stuff that's in that book and reading the stories and the tales of those bass lines, those songs, can actually really focus your bass playing on what's important. I'm not saying some of those lines aren't a walk in the park. Some of them are quite tricky, but it focuses you in on what is important as a bass player. So if you want to get to another level technically, there's stuff in that book that's going to push you to then sort of getting on that next step and going again. And with your bass playing at all times, it's hard sometimes to maintain that energy, that focus to keep pushing and get better and improve. But if you're in a working band or you're in a working situation or you do this full time or you're recording or whatever, you will find that the work that comes your way will push you to do that. Generally, there will be things that cross your path and you suddenly think, I don't know how to do that, or I don't know how to play that. How do I get my head around that? I mean, the thing I get asked all the time is, how do you learn songs so quick? How do you, if someone comes to you with a day's notice, how do you learn 40 songs and retain them in your head? And it's like, there's skills to that. There's skills to it. Doing it is how you learn to do it. Set yourself a task during quiet periods in the year. Like for me, will usually be sort of January, February, maybe a bit in October, November. And if I think, well, I've got a week where I've not got a lot going on, might have regular gigs with a band I play with regularly, so I've got nothing to learn, I'll set myself a task and go, right, learn 50 songs. You've got 2 days. Can you do it? Very easy to say. And I know people who say they can do it, and then when they get given a list of songs, it's like, actually, I can't do that. And they get found out. I saw something a week ago, someone I know, and they've been doing some stuff and they were still using notes. And I'm like, why haven't you learnt that? And, oh, well, I'm busy and I haven't got headspace for it. But you've put yourself out to, I'm sure the band aren't that impressed that, you're doing that, but you haven't bothered to sort of learn it. But different bands have different tolerances. Personally, I don't like that. I like people to learn the stuff. If it's just one gig, fair enough. But if you're getting like a clutch of gigs, you might do 10, might do 20 in a year. Learn the material, please. But yeah, so that's my thing today. Let's see if we can supercharge people's playing. So if anyone's got any questions they want to ask me, you might want to ask other people that are here on the live chat. Patrick Sweeney being a good example. Keith Doherty. Gareth Harrison, good to see you, mate. Yeah, we're all, or some of us are out there gigging, doing this stuff regularly. If we can help, give you pointers. I mean, a lot of this, it can sometimes be a bit of a lonely existence as a bass player. Some of us don't like asking other people, how do you do that? How did you learn to do that thing? Because I now need to learn how to do that and I don't know how to do it. Thankfully, we now have YouTube and lots of people sharing their knowledge and their wisdom, and they'll show practical videos on how they do things when it comes to bass playing and theory and knowledge. We never used to have that. So a lot of the time you had to work your own way around finding these things. But if you've got questions, you want to know something, if there's something maybe you've seen on another video here on YouTube or something here on Brooks's Bass Corner, you want to ask me a question, how do you do that? Or, you've talked about something on a live chat before that you used to do in bands or on gigs. How did you do that? How did you work that out? Ask me. If I can shine a light on what you're trying to do, that's what I'm here for. Gareth, often have trouble structuring practice sessions. Do you know what? I hear that so many times from players, not just bass players, musicians generally. For someone in my position, I was listening to something earlier. Sorry, it's just picked up on something I heard earlier. Might have been on the news. It was on LBC this morning. They were saying that people are reading more and more and more stuff because they're reading stuff online constantly through the day. But reading of books, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, has dropped to an all-time low. And people were saying, well, I used to read a lot when I was younger, and then as life took over, I just don't read. I don't have time. The only time, the guy that was doing it, I think it was Matthew Wright, was saying, well, I read all day for my job. So the last thing I want to do when I get home from work is read a book, because I've been reading all day. Eyes have been on it. For me, and I realized this 20 years ago, in fact, probably more, 25, was that when I got into sort of 2000, 2001, 2002, I was gigging so much that where I used to have like a Monday afternoon or a Wednesday or something, and I would have, I'd set aside an hour or two just to listen to music I'd bought recently, CDs that I'd bought that I hadn't had a chance to listen to, and I'd enjoy the music. I'd sit there and just listen and read, liner notes, read the sleeves in the CDs and the albums and what have you. I don't listen to music for enjoyment, although I'm trying to get back into doing more of that. And I try and do it purposefully now. So I've here a drawer. I could pull it out, it would weigh a ton, full of CDs and stuff that I've bought that I just haven't put onto my hard drive, haven't converted to MP3, so they're not on my phone, they're not on my MP3 player, they're not in my music software here on my PC. I don't get time to listen to music for enjoyment, and it's a travesty. I'm a musician, this is what I do, but so much of my time is taken up, or used to be, was taken up learning stuff on the fly. Even though I was in a regular band and we were gigging a lot, I'd still get a lot of depth stuff. So people's set lists in other bands would change constantly. You might do one gig for a band, then not gig for them again for 6 months or a year. They might have new tracks going on. And so I would find I was constantly juggling, learning new stuff, constantly refining how I'd play, because sometimes in certain bands they play a slightly different version, or their bass player would play a bass line in a different way. And the thing I've always tried to do is, if someone says to me, you're covering for me in the band, I need you to play the bass line how I play it, then as long as they provide me with a live recording or a video of them playing it, which obviously is another good thing with YouTube, is that any bass player in a band can create 25, 30 videos of them playing the songs in their band, give me private access to it, and I can just learn it how they play it. But lots of bands would play. I can remember there was a weekend probably about 10, maybe 12 years ago, where I was doing 5 gigs with 4 different bands over a weekend. So I was playing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All of those bands played certain songs differently. And it was like trying to remember, right, is this the band where they go from that song into that song? Or is this the one where they're just playing that song and stop? And are they included in the middle 8 section, or do they just do a guitar solo there? And all of that. And you're trying to cram it all in. But that's what my time would get taken up with. So I found, sort of certainly through probably from about 2005 up till 2020, when we kind of had that stop with COVID, that I just wouldn't listen to any music really for enjoyment. I was listening to music to learn it, to play it. And now, as I've got into my 50s and we've come out of COVID, and thankfully the bands I play with are fairly structured, the 3 main 3 or 4 main things I do. Once you've learnt the set, you've learnt the set. You just stay on top of it, and like when we get from March to October, you're playing those songs fairly consistently. So now I try to listen to as much music for enjoyment as I can. I'm revisiting albums I haven't listened to for 20 or 30 years. I'm suddenly thinking, why haven't I listened to this for 30 years? But yeah, just that sort of thing, just broadening your scope, listen to stuff, go and check out. I mean, it's so easy now to check out stuff without having to go and buy it. I can remember in 95, 96, 97, 98, being a dep, learning stuff, people not giving you stuff to learn. They would just expect you to have songs. I remember like people go, oh, just learn White Room by Cream, and we're going to do by Eric Clapton, and we'll do some of this and some of, and they just expected you to have the tunes. Well, very often you'd have to go and buy the CD or go to the library and hire a cassette or the CD and get it home and make a copy of those tracks. And if you had no reference point, you couldn't go online. There wasn't, YouTube didn't exist, and a lot of people didn't have internet connections at home. Certainly not until we got sort of into sort of 97, 98, 99, and then into 2000s, and then broadband came. So you've got to remember, in 97, 98, we didn't have MP3s. That wasn't a thing. So you had to go to the source. You had to go to the CD or the cassette or the vinyl and I've got, I mean, God, if I go into that tape box up there, there's a cardboard box here with all my old cassettes in. There are probably about 10 cassettes there, which are just full of tracks, which were important songs to learn for playing with bands. So stuff, some of it probably I've never even had to learn, but they were things that were on bands' song lists. So you would have bands with like 200 songs on their song list. You could do a gig and they could pull any song off of that list. If you didn't know it, you didn't know it, and you had to busk along and hope that you got to the end. That's the way it used to be. Whereas now you can just go and reference it online. It's very easy. Lots of comments coming in. But yeah, if you got questions on this sort of stuff, ask me. So Gareth, you were asking about structuring practice sessions. Yeah, so loads of musicians have this problem. If you're really busy working, unless you are super diligent and you've got nothing really going on in your life, so you don't have kids, don't have lots of family requirements, and perhaps if you're single and you live alone, or you live in a flat share or something, you can commit loads of your spare time to practicing. I don't, and I don't get the time to do as much of it as I wish I did. It used to be so, or for me, I was so busy that standard theory practice just had to go out the window. Something had to give, because there weren't the hours in the day to do all the things that I had to do in order to do the gigs I had every week going on. And I can remember in 2011, I got called up to do a Robbie Williams tribute on the morning of the gig, having never done a Robbie Williams tribute, but I played maybe 5 or 6 of his songs in various covers bands, but I had none of it written out. I just went on memory. And then the guy who was fronting it, they had no bass player. The bass player called off sick that day. Most of my day was going to be stuck in a van. We were going up north. I can't remember where the gig was. And I literally had to cram from 7 till... So I got up I think I got up about 6:30. And from 7 a.m. till midday, I literally wrote out charts for... There must have been 25 songs. There were a couple of album tracks on there as well. We all know the popular Robbie Williams songs, but there were songs on there. I just didn't know the format, didn't know the chords or anything. So it was literally listen to the song and do it block by block. So verse, chorus, middle 8, chorus, chorus, chorus. Most of the songs follow that general format. And then sitting with a pad of paper and doing one sheet per song. And then literally having that sheet, and then for the next 3-4 hours, just playing it over and over and over again, as much as I could, to cram those songs in my head. Then in the van on the way up, because all the band were traveling in one van, I had my MP3 player, and I was literally going through all the songs and reading and following the format. And then on the gig, and I'd said to them before I took the gig, I said, I'll happily do it and I'll do my very best for you, but you have to make sure I'm positioned behind a PA speaker. So I knew they were using 2 subs and 2 tops. I didn't have an iPad at the time. And I said, put me to one side. So I'm presuming it's going to be the Robbie guy in the center, bass, guitar either side, keys and drums at the back. Put me right next to one of those PA speakers, and I'm going to gaffer tape my cheat sheets to that speaker. And what I'm going to do is have another separate piece of gaffer tape, and as we roll through each song, I'm just going to pull the sheet up and put it under the tape, and that's it. So literally I've got the current song and the ones left to go in that roll, and it worked. We did the job, and the drummer afterwards couldn't believe how we'd done it. He said, I can't believe you did all that. How did you do it? I just do it. Yes, that's the trick. So there was no, getting back to Gareth's point, structured practice sessions. You can do that. You can have structured practice sessions if your life and lifestyle permits it. But if you're just too busy with life, it's going to be tricky. Now, I'd always say some practice is better than none. So even if you can only do like 20 to 30 minutes, something is better than nothing, whether it's concentrating on finger strength, finger independence, playing scales, playing passages. If you're very busy in other bands, run through your songs that you play with no backing. Can you go on autopilot and just play your song straight off, just tapping your foot as a guide? Can you do that? Do you require hearing your bandmates in order to play your songs? If you can do it without hearing your bandmates playing, you've solved yourself a whole load of grief. But in terms of practice, see, having a book or a guide or some sort of course to follow is a fabulous thing. But in my experience, people get halfway through those things and then just bang it on the head. They never go the full distance. And I've got loads of theory books and course books and stuff here. And again, I've fallen foul of that. I'll get halfway through and then just go, oh, I can't be bothered, or I don't have time, or suddenly I've got busy, and I don't come back to it. And if I went back to some of these that I've started, I would have to start again from scratch. So it's kind of up to you as the individual to do it. And I do know that some people who pay for lessons and do that sort of thing, once you start, it's like going to the gym. If you have to pay money for it, you're going to do it generally, because you don't want to waste your money until you get to the point where you cancel and you stop spending the money. But everyone's different. So if you're one of those people that it doesn't matter whether you've spent the money, you're probably not going to fulfill the course or following the routine of doing it. Some people work really well in that way. Some people don't. I tend to be a bit 50-50. I go in with good intentions and I'll start a practice regime and I'll write down all the things I want to achieve and things I want to learn and songs I want to learn and techniques I want to do. And I'll start doing it, and then I start dropping off after a couple of weeks because things in life will take over. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way life is. And for me, always priority has been, what are the gigs you've got to do? They're your priority. So if there's time left in my day or in my week, once I've got my prep for all the gigs I've got coming up. So for example, next week is a perfect example of this, what I'm talking about. Let me just update that here. Next week, I've got these 3 gigs. I've also got other things going on life-wise. But next Friday, I've got my first Dep gig with a Queen tribute called Supersonic Queen. They do some songs that I don't normally play. They're arrangements are a little bit different. They play the songs at a slightly faster tempo than I usually play them. And their bass player, I've listened to the tracks that I've got through. The bass player has a way of trying filling up the bass line rather than playing what the actual bass line is. There are certain things where he's pushing and playing extra notes. That's his way of playing it. That's fine. I need to speak to the band to see if they want me to copy exactly what he's doing or whether I'm doing it based on the original versions that I'm used to playing. So I've got to do the prep for that. I've got to do the prep for the Uncle Funk show because we've not had a gig since 1st of February. So got to get back into playing that. 2 hours of disco hits. And then I've got the other Queen show on the Sunday. Now that band, although I did a Queen show last week, and that band last week follows the arrangements of the band that I'm playing next Sunday. But there are songs in that set that we didn't play last week. So I need to give that a run through. So basically, I've got 3 gigs next week and I need to run through all the stuff for all 3. That's my priority. So I'll get that stuff done. Once that's done and put in a box, then my time is my own. So I then fit in all the YouTube stuff. I probably won't get any other theory practice or bass practice in next week. Preparing for those gigs is enough. But then I look back, if I look back over the last 25, 30 years, and I've had a good run of it. I've been a very busy bass player. Now, you can be at home doing structured practice and never gig. In which case, what was your practice for? If it was just to be a good player at home, that's cool. That's fine. No problem with that. But I would hope for someone who's doing a lot of practice, at some point you're going to share your performance with the outer world. You know, people outside of the confines of your home. That should be what your practice is ultimately reaching the end to do, is performing to an audience. Doesn't have to be, of course. You might just play for your own sort of enjoyment. But if your goal is to get out there and do gigs and join a band and be a busy working bass player, then that is what your structured practice should be leading towards. But as I say, I've been so busy in 25, 30 years that every time I've tried to do that, it's kind of got curtailed. But here I am on the other side of that, and it's not been too bad. You know, there's probably been, out of 4,500 gigs, there's probably been 5 gigs where inside my head I've thought at the end of the gig, you need to do more prep. You could have done with more practice on some of those songs. 5 gigs out of 4,500. I'll take that. The odds are pretty good. So, yeah, that's my take on that one, Gareth. Patrick Sweeney, I guess there's no substitute for hard work. Exactly. There you go. Let me just have a drink so I can feel my throat getting a bit raspy. Cheers, everyone. I hope you're having a good weekend. Dedicate a set time to practice new songs. Yes. Especially if you're on a dep gig. It does become easier. It does. That's how, over time, and doing more and more depping, I am able, to learn stuff at short notice. I know what the process is. So if someone rang me up now, I've got a gig tonight, so it's not going to happen. If someone rang me up and said, we need you to be at such and such by 7 o'clock, can do the gig, the first thing I'm going to say is, yes, I can be there. Yes, I can do the gig, but I need to know what's on the set. There's no point me taking the gig and I don't know the set, or I don't know the bulk of the songs. If I know 50%, then I can listen to the other 50% on the way to the gig. I can top and tail when I get to the gig. If we've got 2 hours of downtime between sound check and doing the show, we're laughing, we're okay. If someone gives me a set list and I don't know any of it, then I'm probably going to say no. Because A, I don't want to embarrass myself, but I don't want them having false illusions that I'm going to do the gig and it's going to be fabulous. And then they go, what the hell is that? I know bass players that will do that, but it doesn't benefit you in the long run. Just gets you a bad rep. But yeah, like I say, in a period of downtime, maybe when you haven't got a lot of work on, set yourself goals. So say to yourself, can I learn 20 songs in a day? Can I learn, and then over time, can I do 30 in a day? Can I do 40 in a day? I think for me, in my headspace, I know how my brain works. My maximum is probably 40 songs in a day. It's the maximum I can cram in there and do a gig. If there's stuff in there that I know the song, but I just have never played it, that's okay. Obviously, if you're a reader, well, as long as someone's giving you charts, you can play it all bang, 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 bang. I'm not a theory kind of guy. So for me, I have to learn it in my head, know the song, then we can play it. But that's worked for me. Doesn't work for everyone else. It's why you get lots of players. If they can't have an iPad, they're lost. They can't do the gig. Some people do that and they're in the band as a full-time member. They just choose never to learn the songs. They just choose to read. Again, if your band is happy with that, great, good for you. Personally, that's not a thing I find acceptable, but that's me. Cantankerous Mike. Juice, hi all, good to see you. You're just heading to pick up new bass, so listening rather than interacting today. Status Smart Bass 5, is that the one at Bass Brothers? Or was it Bass Brothers? If it is, enjoy. You will enjoy that. I can assure you. Patrick Sweeney, I set myself a task of learning a really hard bass line that I'm possibly never going to play at a gig. Yeah, I've done that. I've done that in the past. It makes a lot of other songs seem easy by comparison. Yeah, and also you never know learning a tricky song if there might be a little technique in there or a little finger position that might just help you out further down the line. I have experienced that before. I've learnt stuff and then not used it, or just for my own sort of perverse pleasure in like, can I play this? Can I play it? Can I actually do it? And there'll be something in there that I might just get a little lick or a little progression, and I'll then slot it into other things that I do further down the line. It goes into your little library of licks and compositional links, if you like, between like a verse and a chorus, or just a little phrase that might link two bits of music together. It goes into the old library in the brain, and you never know when it will pop out, but it's there. If you learn it and it sinks in enough, you'll pick it up at some point. Manfred Oliveris, highest 6, slow the song at 70%, 7, learn the song. I think you've tried to copy and paste something and you've only given me a couple of bits there, Manfred. Do you want to go back to number 1? You give me the last word of number 5, a bit of number 6, and then number 7. We need the full Monty there, unless I've missed some of your convo. I don't think I have. No, can't see the rest of it, mate. Give us the rest of it, if you'd be so good. So if you want to join me live, you can come in here on video or audio. Email's running on the ticker at the bottom of the screen. Email me at brooksyspacecorner@gmail.com. I'll send you an invite. You click on the invite and you come straight through, and then I can bring you to screen. If you want to appear live but don't want the video on, that's fine as well. We can do just audio. You just turn the visual part off on your camera or your phone, whichever suits you, and we can still hear you. So that's fine. Now I do have a little announcement regarding the live chat. So last week we did, I did a poll, didn't I? And I was asking you all if you wanted the live chats to stay on. Just bear with me a minute. I'm just checking the stream health. That's all looking good. That's fine. Stream health is excellent. Good. And I was asking for people's opinions on whether we keep the live chats on Saturdays or we move back to Tuesdays. So it was fairly unanimous that people wanted it to stay on Saturday. And I thought, okay, that's what we'll do. And then I've had gigs come in this week for the summer months, and I've started to look at the gig schedule that I've got coming up on Saturdays. So I'm sad to announce all those that wanted Saturday live chats, in theory, the scheduled live chats can't continue on the Saturdays. It's just not physically possible. Most of the Saturdays between the start of April and the end of August, September, between the hours of 12 and 4, most Saturdays I'm going to be driving. Now, I could do live chats while I'm driving. I'm not sure that the police would be very happy about it, but also I have no knowledge of what the mobile internet network is going to be like where I'm driving to. So we could end up with live chats that just look something like off Minecraft or Lego. And I don't really want to do that. And there's also the fact that I could get held up in traffic. I can't read your comments because I'm driving. I can't respond to the comments because I'm driving. So it would end up being just me wittering away for a couple of hours and not really being able to interact with you guys, which completely defeats the object of the live chat. So what I'm going to propose is so this is up until, so at the moment, all the live chats are on Saturdays up until the end of March. And I think the last one is the 31st. Let me just check. They're booked in. I know that much. So we are the 8th today. So we got one next Saturday, 15th, one on the 22nd and one on the 29th. So then we're into April. So what I'm going to do is I propose I will start doing Tuesday live chats again at 8 p.m. UK time from the 1st of April. But there is a caveat to this. What I will do, because so many people wanted Saturday live chats, is I will do my damnedest once I get to wherever I'm going to on my gigs, or it might be that I'm in a place already and stayed in a hotel overnight, so I'm kind of at the place I'm playing on the Saturday early. I will try my damnedest to do impromptu live chats on all the Saturday gigs. Now, I'm going to be filming anyway because I've got stuff to do for gig vlogs and what have you. But I'm going to move the regular scheduled live chats will go back to Tuesdays. And I will do impromptu live chats on the Saturdays. They may work, they may not. I'm also very aware that, it's a lovely day outside today here in the UK. And once we get into the summer, no one's going to be on my live chats on a Saturday afternoon. They're just not. Unless, obviously, wherever you are in the world, it's absolutely hammering down with rain. So that's the general premise, is that there's no point me doing live chats and no one's watching. But also, if I'm traveling, it makes it incredibly hard to sort of maintain a regular schedule with that. So to avoid that, it's much easier for me to do a regular Tuesday night live chat. And hopefully loads of you will come back onto that. But I will try and do an impromptu live chat as often as I possibly can on the Saturdays. But it will all depend on what the mobile internet connection is like on my phone. And also if we're playing at venues where there's Wi-Fi. So if there is Wi-Fi, I'm on a freebie. There's no problem. But if the mobile internet connection is dreadful, then I can't do it because there's no point doing it. You won't be able to see or hear anything, and it will just get messy. So that's the way it's going to go for the moment. I will put some notices up on the community tab, and I'll post it up on Facebook and Instagram as well. But thank you for everyone who's been coming in on the Saturdays. And like I say, we've got another 3 of these, 15th, 22nd, 29th. The experiment was good. I didn't see the jump in audience figures that I thought I might get, but that's just the way it is. But we will move back to the Tuesdays from the 1st of April. So I don't intend stopping doing it during the summer. I think we've now kind of got a regular community going on here on Brooksy's Bass Corner for the live chat. So I will keep doing them through the summer. If there's not many people in on a given evening, then I'll just make it a short live chat and bang it on the head early. But yeah, so there we go. Right, let's go back to these messages. Gareth, one thing I need to improve is my ear. Okay, pick up what guitarists are playing at open mics rather than relying on my tablet or recognizing chord shapes. Right, that is practice you have to do at home. So what I suggest is record yourself playing the notes on the neck and listen and work out how they relate to the note that went before and the note that comes after. And then it's ear training. There's no, the only people that can get around this are the people that see notes as colours. And there's a scientific term for it. Lee Pomeroy has it. So he plays a note, he sees a colour. They associate colours with notes. It's a lovely skill to have. I don't have it. Wish I did. However, record yourself playing the notes or use a piano or a guitar or whatever you want. And like I say, try and hear the relation between the note that went before and the note that went after. Then put on songs that you know, that you're familiar with, that aren't particularly technical. And again, using backing tracks rather than songs with vocals on make this easier. So if you know a bass line progression is D to C to G, Sweet Home Alabama, you can train your ear to what that bass note is. Obviously, guitarists are playing chords, so you're getting majors, minors, all the different inversions and suspended sevenths and augmented eighths and all of that. It's ear training, and there's no quick solution to it. You just have to put in the graft. But over time, you start to hear, like I can hear certain notes and I'll know something's in the key of D minor or D major. I'll know something is in E or C, and you become familiar with bass lines that if you know that bass player or the original was played on a 4-string bass, for example, anything from the 60s isn't going to have a 5-string bass on there. Once it's getting low, you know those low notes are going to be around the E, F, F sharp, G. You can then, and so many songs are based on patterns, you will be able to know, you can hear note movement, note progression, and you'll start to, or the way I see it sometimes in my mind's eyes, I can see what the pattern is that they're playing. So it's like, well, okay, well, what's the starting note of that pattern? Because I might have played that pattern myself hundreds of times. Right, but the starting note is a G. Okay, so it's going to be G, F, C. That's kind of how that works. But it's, again, you have to practice it. Learning piano, learning guitar, learning chord shapes, as you say, recognizing them. If you do some of that, you will start to hear the theory. Piano players are great at picking up what a bass player's doing or a guitar player's playing, because they know what those progressions are. They know the sounds of a certain chord. They know what goes with that chord underneath. So there you go. Manfred, you've got some, let me show this. Right. Okay. So these are your points 1 to 7, I guess. Have transcribe or a similar MP3 player. Okay. Download the MP3 track. Okay. You've missed number 3. I've got number 4 here. Download the bass track. Okay. Number 5, play the file in a player an octave higher and 70% lower. Playing bass lines fast on a music player allows you to hear the bass line easier, I've always found. That's your hack to learning new songs. You need point 3 there, sir. You've missed out point 3. Patrick Sweeney, I have exactly the same problem, Mike. Driving to a gig Saturday afternoon. That's it. Exactly. Okay. Your hack to improve the ear. Here you go. This is what you want, Gareth. Play a note, sing the note, learn to sing the 5th with that bass note, and so on with the other intervals. That's a great way of learning how to harmonize as well for BVs. Stacey, synesthesia is the skill of seeing colours based on notes. I wish I had it. I really do. I'd pay to have that skill, because you could let guitarists play round a chord progression once and then just go, right, oh, well, it's that, isn't it? So it's purple, yellow, red. That would make things so much easier. Yeah, so it's just hit 3 o'clock here in London. here in the UK, you're very welcome. It's Brooks's Bass Corner here, live chat 103. Yeah, we did 100 a couple of weeks ago, and we're carrying on. Quite right. Stacey, one 2006 study proposed that it occurs in 2 to 4% of people. I'm sure some people have it and they don't even realise what's happening. They just wonder why they're seeing colours when they're listening to music. Manfred, you don't know why 3's not showing. Okay, no worries, mate. Don't worry. Keith Doherty, what did you say to make the bass easier to hear? Playing tracks faster. So, I mean, I use Audacity. I used to use Winamp, and there was a thing in there called the slow downer. So you can slow a track down, but it's still played at the correct pitch. That's good for working out notes. But if you actually want to hear a progression better, or even some songs where the bass is a little muddy and it's hard to pick out what's going on, like some Hendrix stuff is a bit like that. You know there's bass there and you can kind of hear there's changes going on, but actually picking out the note is a bit hard. Play the song at a faster tempo. You suddenly hear the bass line a lot clearer. So you can then work out what it's doing, then put it into the slow downer and work out the notes individually as they change. That works pretty well, or that's worked for me in the past. That worked for me when I had to learn the Bonnie Tyler set overnight, having gone to the first rehearsal and realising that no one could hear what the bass line was doing on the CD that they'd sent me. There was no bass. So they sent me away with another recording, and I got home at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I had from 5 till 8 a.m. in the morning to get it all tight for the following day's rehearsal. So with that, I just sped everything up. Each track sped up. I could hear what the line was doing. And then put it slowed down, and I kind of knew what the next thing was going to be. It's either going up or it's going down, and I just sat there with the bass, worked it all out, charted every song out. But I'd already worked out pretty much 80% of the songs. It was just some of the frilly bits I was missing. So it was then a case of, right, okay, you've got the meat and potatoes. I've been prepping it for 3 weeks. You got the meat and potatoes there. You just need to find what these sections are, and you're following. It's a harmony thing with the guitar or with the keys, and so you just run it in the slow downer. Get a post-it and stick that into your cheat sheet, and go, right, this line is note for note C, B flat, A, G, F sharp, E, and that's how I did it. And that's what worked for me. There's Manfred's point 3. 3 is separate the stem using FADR. It's free AI and download the track. Okay. Hopefully that'll be useful for people. Let me put them in order. So let me click on these. Right. So I'm going to do Manfred's step-by-step thing here. Right. 1. Have transcriber or similar MP3 player. Point 2. Download the MP3 track. Very good. Point 3, separate the stem using fader, which is free AI, and download the track. Point 4, download the bass track. Point 5, play the file in a player an octave higher and 70% lower. I'm guessing slower is what he means there. So put the bass line into an octave higher so you're hearing it at a higher pitch, and slow down by 70%. Some slow downers won't let you go as low as 70% without losing the integrity of the actual song. So it depends on the player you're using. And I think there was a 0.62. Where's your 0.6 gone? There you go. Slow the song at 70%, 7, learn the song. There you go. Hopefully people will find that useful. Thank you, Manfred, for your insight. Much appreciated. Keith Doherty, thanks. Must give that a go. Again, things you pick up along the way doing this stuff. Stacey, synesthesia is the broad category, with chromesthesia being the sound colours aspect. Right, gotcha. Thank you very much. Very good. But yeah, all these things, they can help progress your learning, help progress working stuff out. Sometimes you're going to get set lists, song lists, and you just got to learn them on the fly and do the very best you can. Whether you come back and have another listen afterwards sometimes is determined by whether you get another gig with that band. I've always taken the view that if I do my very best on the gig, then anything that didn't go properly, I will run again, like a day or two after the gig at home, and try and commit to memory as best I can. But then I've done that in the past and then never gigged with that band again. And then you think, well, I wasted that time learning something. I've not used it since. But I could say that about 60% of the songs I've learned in my career. And if I go back through, like on my hard drive, I have a directory which is band depping. And in there I have folders literally for every band that I've played with. And during COVID, I just had to be a bit merciless and cut out things like bands I depped with in the early 2000s. A lot of them don't even exist anymore. Some of the band members have died. So I've kept the gig recordings if I recorded the gigs, but I haven't kept all the song lists and the, like, pretty much every band I used to dep for, I'd create a folder which had the original tracks, and then I'd have a separate folder for live recordings if the band had sent me any. And a lot of them I just had to ditch. I just thought, well, I'm never going to play with this band. Some, as I say, some of them I didn't even know if they still existed. Gareth, I ended up playing at a band on the wall in Manchester on Thursday afternoon, a gig for two charities to support musicians with mental health issues. Very good for you, sir. But bit of a bucket list venue for me. Yeah, it's well known, band on the wall. There used to be one here. I think it was down near Waterloo, but I'm not sure if it's still there. Ah, there's Mr. Millard. Welcome. There's an invite for you in your inbox. Yes, band on the wall. Yeah. Lots of good gigs, lots of good performers perform there. Well done, sir. Well done on ticking that off your bucket list. So loads of new subscribers this week. I'm very kind of pleased to say that we are 25 subscribers away from 4,000 subscribers here on the channel. If you're one of the new ones this week, thank you very much. We've had subscriber surges throughout the week, I'm guessing partly due to the performance of the shorts videos I've been putting up. So thank you very much. If you're one of those, welcome aboard. Thank you for getting on the bus, and I hope you enjoy the journey. I hope you find some content on the channel that works for you. I try my best. So yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for all the likes, comments and shares. All very good. Fabulous numbers this week. Everything's in green. Nothing's changed. Everything's on the up. If I go into the analytics, and what's my usual? So if I go into the views, go into lifetime, everything's on a nice 45-degree angle going up. So long may it continue. So thank you to everyone for making the first part of this year really good for the channel. It's all going rather nicely. So I know this week has been a little lean, where I've been fighting this cold and fighting the cold and having to deal with that hard drive issue. And but the shorts have been working their magic, which is great. So there'll be long form tomorrow. In fact, I might try and do, I'm trying to think what was going up tomorrow. Tomorrow was Ibanez stuff. Then I've got the Warwick Bootsy stuff. Then I've got the Flatley stuff. And then the bass center snakebite basses. So I'm going to try my damnedest, see if I can do 2 or 3 of the long forms before we get to Friday when my gigs start. But if I can get all the editing on what I want to get edited done, then I've got them in backlog ready to launch. Well, I can actually set them up to go over the weekend, next weekend, when all these gigs are happening. So we will see. We will see. I work hard. I People work hard. Next Saturday's live chat, by the way, folks, is going to be an earlier one because I've got the Uncle Funk show in Ware. So we're starting at midday UK time next Saturday. We're going to do a 12 till 3 next week. So a little earlier for you US folks. And you'll be here in a mo. Very good. So earlier start next week, earlier finish, and then I'm going to pootle off to Ware. And we may even do an impromptu live chat. We'll see what state of disrepair the band's in when I get there. We haven't done a gig since 1st of Feb, and they're going to be setting all the gear up and everything else. So we shall see. I might get there way too early and be sat in the car, or I might not. Just don't know. Don't know till we get there. It's a public ticketed affair. Jerry Blair, if you venture on to here or watch this back on catch up, I know you've said you're coming to the gig next week. I'm just checking in again. I will probably message you during the week just to see if you are still coming along, so I can sort your ticket or tickets. And should be a blast actually next week. Should be real good fun. The funny thing is with Uncle Funk, when we don't do a gig for a while and then we have one back, you'd expect everyone to be a bit nervous. But it seems to be the opposite. We sort of go up a level and like we're going through the gears and it's like going for it. So it should be good. Looking forward to it. We shall have a good blast next Saturday in Ware. If you're coming, hope you enjoy yourselves. And yeah. And the funny thing is we do that gig and then we don't have another one until middle of April. And that's not even Disco Inferno in April. That's the Decades Dance show. So, festival season can't start soon enough, frankly. It feels like a hell of a long time since we did some outdoor shows. In effect, it's since September, but it does seem to take a while for us to get round to that these days. And before you know it, summer's been and gone and you're back in October. So I've no doubt Mr. Millard will be joining us live very shortly. If you want to come in on the chat as well and join me and Jamie for some bass chat, bass nattering, feel free. Email me as a ticker running along the bottom of the screen, brooksy'sbasscorner@gmail.com. Email me, I'll send you an invite. You click on the invite and you come straight through. Gareth Harrison, what are your thoughts on this year's Glastonbury lineup? I thought it was a little underwhelming, but to be honest, the Glastonbury lineups generally never fill me with a huge amount of excitement. Not generally my sort of music, more often than not. Although I say that, and then every year I'll watch some of the BBC coverage, and there will be bands that I like or things that I didn't know or hadn't heard of, and suddenly think they're a bit good. So yeah, I say underwhelmed. There was talk that we were going to be playing there this year. Uncle Funk played there twice in the past. We were supposed to be there a couple of years ago, and the contract didn't come through, even though they'd said originally, yes, we want you to come and play. Contract didn't come through, so we didn't go. Last year was a no-go. There was talk a couple of weeks ago that Uncle Funk himself had been in touch with Glastonbury and had offered our services to do 4 gigs at the event, at the festival. And he told us all, just keep those dates free in the diary, and nothing's come of it. So, not his fault. There is no money in doing it, sadly. You kind of have to do it off your own bat. There's literally a minimal budget. And even for named artists, the actual money for doing it is so paltry. That's why you get a lot of bands now who play there, because they've got a tour coming up in the autumn. in the UK. So they want to do Glastonbury, hopefully for some TV exposure, but also if they do a good set at Glastonbury, it sells the tickets for the autumn tour pretty much off the bat. So a lot of people do it for that, even though they're not going to get paid for doing it. And they're doing it for the blast of playing Glastonbury. But yeah, sadly, we're not there. There were a few bands in the list in the running order that, Supergrass always worth watching. Great band live. A couple of other things, but there was nothing there really that made me go, oh, I'd really like to see that. I worry for Rod Stewart. I have to say, I was a big Rod fan up until his cancer diagnosis in the early 2000s, and he had a cancerous thing in his throat removed, and his voice has never been the same since. And I know he did a couple of things a couple of years back. Was it the Jubilee thing? And he didn't sound good then. And most of his material now has been so key changed that they just don't sound like the songs they were. And it's all well and good being in the legend slot. And I know Dolly Parton did it and mimed, and, Shania Twain did it last year. I didn't think she had a good run on it. She did not sound good. And a lot of her stuff, I've seen videos on live where she's miming. I mean, she looks fabulous, but the voice ain't there, and I'm just worried for Rod that his voice ain't there either, and it's going to be slap bang in the middle of summer. I don't know if Rod Stewart suffers with hay fever or anything. If it's really dry, I don't want to see it really. I mean, I remember Lionel Richie doing it 10 years ago, and I thought this is going to be great because I'd seen him do live stuff before, and he was awful. And a friend of mine messaged me, actually went, "Isn't Lionel Richie amazing?" And I was like, "You are joking. Are you actually listening to what he's singing? He's not even singing in time with his own lyrics. They're not scanning." And he kept doing those vocal things he does where he goes, and it's like, what is he, like revving up the car or something? I'm not really sure. And that whole legend slot for me just always seems to be a bit of an embarrassment. It could be great, but they always seem to get performers as they're tailing off. Like the Barry Gibb set wasn't good either. Great songs, but his voice was gone. Dolly Parton, as I say, a lot of her stuff was mimed. Neil Diamond, which was quite a while ago, was good. But yeah, last year, Shania Twain, I thought, well, I'll be interested to see how she sounds, because I'd seen a lot of clips leading up to that led me to believe there was a degree of miming going on, and lo and behold, there was. And her voice on that show was not good. What are your thoughts, Gareth? Anyone on that list floating your boat? Keith Doherty, looking through your affiliate links, the Gear for Music one isn't working. Do you still have that? No, I don't. I got alerted about 3 or 4 days ago that the Gear for Music affiliate link is going. I'm guessing because I've sold nothing through it, as far as I'm aware. I check on my Trade Doubler affiliate service, which is what the Gear for Music and the Andertons one go through regularly. I check it every week, and I don't think I've had any Gear for Music purchases go through. So no, unfortunately, Gear for Music is no longer an affiliate link for the channel. I will be going through all the videos tomorrow and removing that link and updating the social media links as well, because I've taken Brooks's Bass Corner off of Twitter X for obvious reasons. And it's a shame because loads of my older videos have got a social media bar at the bottom and it's telling you all the addresses. And now the Twitter one is no more. But I'm sorry, I can't support that idiots. So I've taken that away. I've got like 550 videos here on the channel. You can imagine what it's like having to go back through all the description boxes for all the videos, everything, and updating all these links. It'll take me a good 6-7 hours tomorrow, but I've got to do it. I've just got to put some music on in my headphones and crack on with it. So no, sorry, Keith, the Gear for Music affiliate link has died a death, sadly. It could come back further down the line. But again, it's like a lot of the stuff in the description box. So let me put the banner up. So yes, I need to change that actually in there. So another job for tomorrow in your StreamYard, Mike. Just update your ticker to get rid of the Gear for Music link. So yeah, in the description box, the affiliate links and the merchandise links, Brooks's Bass Corner t-shirts, of course. Got Bass Center cap on today. A lot of it just doesn't... It's not you guys' fault. It's just general people watching the videos. The affiliate links don't generate very much at all. The Amazon stuff does on occasion. I need to do more videos here on the channel that cover the items and the equipment that I can then set up affiliate links through on Amazon. Harder to do with Andertons, because the Andertons link is just a link through to their site. There's nothing specific, so I can't put a dedicated affiliate link for a pedal at Andertons. I just have to put the general link, which makes things a little trickier. But I will go through and do all this. Same with the merch. The links are in all the videos. Interest in the merch is limited, put it that way, at the moment. There's 15 designs up there. I need to put some more up. Again, it's having the time at the moment. I'm so focused on getting the video content filmed and edited that's taken a lot of the time. Patrick Sweeney, that's why I stick to playing bass and not singing. You and me both, Patrick. You and me both. Gareth, highlights for you and Neil Young. I thought you'd like that. Nile Rodgers. Yeah, I think Nile and Chic is my thing. But again, it'll be the same thing they've done a lot of times. But it's so good. Why wouldn't you do it? Of course. John Fogerty. Yeah, and Supergrass. The rest is a bit weak. Understood. I get it. Pink Bassman's just arrived. Let's see what he's got to talk about. Get the cans on. Going to bring you to the stage, aren't I? Of course. Here we are. Let's see if we can make that bigger. There. How are we doing?
Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon for you.
Mm-hmm. Finished at the gym?
Indeed. The gym is done and we've got chocolate.
There we are, you see.
There
we are.
In life. There's chocolate and there's curry. And then, of course, there's bass. But that's another discussion.
That's it. You can't swallow a bass. Well, you can try to, but it's not going to get you very far. Kev Seabass, seen Rod a lot. Yeah, Mrs. is a big fan. Yeah, even she says it is time to remember him as he was. Yeah. Also watched the Winged of Pegasus analysis of Gary Newman, and that wasn't encouraging. No, I've seen bits and pieces of Gary Newman recently, and again, I think there does come a point where you have to say, I think I'm done. And you kind of have to move on and do some other things. And Gary has, as far as I'm aware, I think he has a couple of sort of mental health conditions and issues, which is not a reason to stop, but it does make... I'm not sure if it's a case of him cancelling shows, but there's a lot going on his social media. And, yeah, it's hard to see how he's going to keep putting bums on seats with some of the stuff that gets posted. But there we are. That's not for me to talk about. But yeah. Yes. So, how's your week? All right?
So far, so good.
Yeah, there we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to ask you, I haven't asked Nick's sister, are we allowed to make public what happened with Nick, or is it best that we don't do that?
I'd say it's a fair question. I'd say until we know otherwise, hang on.
Fine. Okay. We'll keep that out of the live chat for the moment. Basses. Oh, you had your recording stuff last week. You were doing recording sessions. How'd that all go?
It was lovely. There's going to be a small film coming out on YouTube. And it's now work with me here. I'll have to explain this. My 24-year-old son is an avid.
You don't look old enough.
Oh, I got a 28 too as well. Cheers.
God.
He has put out a film created. He has actually animated the entire thing and hired voice.
Very good.
He's hired voice actors and a couple of people to score this thing, and it's going to. So this is the first installment, first episode of his thing, and it centers around the Hot Wheels cars and this whole adventure and all that stuff. Anyway, he wanted music for it, so I did some kind of rocking stuff, and then there's a few orchestral pieces in there. So it should be kind of interesting when it hits. It's going to hit the 19th, and he asked for a heavy song as well. So of course, Applehead just happens to have a few heavy songs.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that no one's heard yet that's going to appear in this as well.
Okay, great.
So
it all some good exposure for you.
Indeed. Well, it's a different adventure because it's a different group of people. So, I've already been commissioned by one of the guys who did some of the music here to play on his stuff, and of course, my rates are appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So,
of course.
Yep. So
good. Oh, that's good. So, I presume church playing tomorrow.
Of course, I'll be up 4 times tomorrow. 3 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon.
Blimey. How'd you get the energy?
Bottle of water, lad.
That's it, yeah. Yeah, and what else is in there? Yeah.
Well, there's no liveners in this bottle. Let me just.
Oh.
No. This is straight water. This is special.
Very good.
If I do special things, this turns strange shades of pink.
Cherry stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So gigs coming up this week?
Actually, this week I'm back recording again. I've got a song that I've got to send a bass line for Scotland, and one that's going to Germany.
Very nice.
They're interesting styles because one of them is a proggy tune, which the time signature jump every 8 bars for about 2 minutes.
Okay.
So it's going to be a stroll in the park with how well do you know your theory?
And Rickenbacker coming out for this, or
what's that?
Rickenbacker's coming out for this.
So that's the interesting thing. The Rickenbackers, of course, are going to be the choir base.
Obvious choice,
right? However, I'm actually going to try your favorite and mine.
Okay.
I'm actually. Okay. I know we'd spoken last week, and we've kind of trailed this little fretless conversation through these last couple of chats. I ran a tune with the fretless the other day, and it just kind of slid right in there.
Okay. With a pick or fingers? Okay.
And even a little mark.
Whoa.
Just
on
because
a prog tune.
The song calls for it, it'll set well. If it doesn't, go on.
Yeah. Well, do both. Do one with fingers, one with slap, maybe one with pick, and then you've got the 3, haven't you? And you can fit them in.
Beauty of it. I don't know how many of the folks listening do recording, do session work and stuff. Generally speaking, if somebody sends me a tune and they're asking for bass after we sort out all the other stuff, I try to give them 2 or 3 passes with different things and let them pick. And then if they like a certain section, they can cut and paste it to where, they can just kind of move things around and create the line out of the mess. Because,
hopefully not too messy.
No. Well, it also kind of, again, something we spoke about last time. The song will tell you what it is. And so doing that means that also includes which bass you're going to play on the song. So if, like you, as soon as someone says proggy, the first thing I think of is Out Comes the Ricky.
That's it.
Because, that's just that's where we've been.
That's the bass that's associated with it.
Absolutely. And all of our favorites we've done
Geddy Lee, Mike Rutherford.
Chris Squire,
Mr. Squire.
and Whistle at times.
Mm-hmm. All of
And it
that.
was the guy from a band called Triumvirate.
Uh-huh.
The interesting Rick Flash. That was another
Mm-hmm.
Star Castle. All these things.
Yeah.
So out jumping down the Ricky Bunny hole, you know. Um, but all these things that are considered proggy are all they come right back to that because
Mm.
everybody used it. It works so well in that setting. So there will be a spot for that, I'm sure. But at the same time, I want to experiment with the JD. I want to actually try out a couple of different things and see what happens. And the song will tell me what it means.
Okay. Your sound's dropping in and out. You're becoming Norman Collier.
Oh, lovely.
That's better. That's
Okay.
much better.
There
Yeah.
you go. Well,
Gareth Harrison, did I watch the Tony Butler interview I sent you earlier in the week? I haven't, but it's queued up on my list of videos to watch. So it's in there, Gareth. Whenever you send me anything, I just add it to my list. So tomorrow, once I get all my video description editing sorted out, I'll be going through my list of videos. So I will watch that tomorrow and I will refer back to you once I've watched it. Patrick, Phil at Wings of Pegasus is great at analysing singers where they are miming using pitch correction and auto-tune. Yeah, he's very good. I particularly enjoyed his Don Henley. He got in a fair bit of trouble, I think, with that. I'm not sure what the eventual outcome was, but I know Eagles and Henley were not best pleased, even though he was right. Yeah. Yes, don't invoke the wrath of Henley. It's just not worth the bother. Just
welcome.
steer well clear.
Out come the solicitors.
That's right. And he's
Yep.
got more money. So just don't go down that road.
That's where deep pockets comes into play.
That's why when Charles Bertode did a version of Hotel California, and you knew instantly what was going to happen, and then he had the audacity. Amazing player, but he had the audacity to moan that Henley had slapped him with a copyright strike. It was like, you knew that was going to happen, and you've created this video of you moaning about it as clickbait. Don't be a twat. Stop doing that.
Too late.
He knew what was going to happen. He'd done it to create the clickbait, and then that video got another 5 million clicks because people wanted to know why was he been. You knew what was going to happen.
It's unfortunate when people do that.
Well, I see Don Henley's point of view on it, but there's also the fact that, you know, I didn't like what Charles Bertode said, you know, oh, no one's ever going to remember Don Henley and the Eagles. I think they'll remember them probably more than you, mate. And I thought that was just a bit ill-conceived.
Shall we say a bit?
Say what?
A little bit arrogant, perhaps?
Probably a bit of that as well. And don't believe your own hype. Remain humble. You know, you may be one of the greatest bass players on the planet, but Don Henley's written more hits than you've probably had hot dinners. So just, you know, don't be daft.
Agreed.
But there we are. There we are. Very good. Very good. Well, I've got request show tonight. Two on the bounce. I can't believe it. So did one last week, got one tonight. Then next week's where it all goes a little mad. I've got Depping for a Queen band I've never played for on Friday. We've got Uncle Funk on Friday, so disco hits all the way. And then the regular Queen band that I play with on Sunday. So it's all go, man.
Sounds like a Queen week.
Yeah, it's all that. Was there anything that you saw online regarding the bass show last week?
I've only seen little bits, just a few bits.
A lot of social media outpourings, but yeah.
Yep, I've only seen a few. There was, I for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just because I'm not connected with the right folks, or just because the ones I saw didn't speak a bunch about it. It was like guitar and bass show.
Well, they got a room. That's basically what it was. It was a large room. I'll give them that.
Sure.
But it wasn't like what you would have seen at London Bass Show. It's not a fully fledged bass show on its own. It sounds like everyone that went had a great time, really enjoyed it. But I suspect if I'd gone, I'd have been a bit, after an hour, it'd be like, well, what else is there? You know, it is what it is. But like I say, looked like everyone that went had a great time, really enjoyed it. So yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what's the rest of your day hold for you?
Well, you might have a chuckle when I say this.
I'll start early.
It has nothing to do with curry. Um, no, my daughter has a Honda, and I need to do some fixes to it. So I will be spending time getting these all dirty
Mm.
and get her running so she's good at covered.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a routine at times, but I would rather fix it myself than pay to have someone do it.
Very true. Your sound keeps dropping out, mate.
Uh,
We get a lot of mouth movement and not a lot of sound. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah,
right.
that's exactly it.
Well, I'm actually sitting still. It's kind of interesting that it's doing that because this shiny metal box is not.
Mm.
We're not moving in the.
No, no, no.
Yeah. So, oh, I will say, at some point here in the near future, our favorite legendary man, Mr. Sheehan, and I are going to have a
Mm.
curry.
Excellent,
Yes.
excellent.
Yes.
Send him my best. Tell him I will be in touch very, very shortly. We've got to do this interview. It's been dragging on too long, and like by next week he'll have been home for 2.5, 3 weeks, so he'll have decompressed. I know he's got loads of other things sort of
Right.
looking for his attention, but I just like to put that to bed if we can do that interview and then it's done and it's out there, isn't it? So
It is.
mention it to him. Mention it to him. Tell him I'll be in touch. I'll drop him an email actually. So
I.
just to remind the boy.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Excellent,
Yeah,
excellent. Do I need to leave you? Have you got a blast? Are you hanging around?
I'm good for a few minutes. I'm like I said, I'm just sitting still because I'm in the parking lot of what you would call Tesco.
Ah, right. Okay. Very
Uh,
good.
yeah. That's
Very good.
that's coming. We get the naughty bits. So
Ah, that's actually the best your sound has been. So whatever you've changed, it's working great now.
I've done nothing actually. I'm just sitting here. I've got
Ah,
the this is in my hand as opposed to doing
oh,
all over the
very
vehicle.
good.
So
Very good.
right.
Gareth Harrison, I guess referring to the Don Henley thing, I get it for the point of view of artists wanting to protect their work, but on the other hand, content creators will bring the music to the attention of a whole new audience. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I'm sat on the fence with this whole argument because I see both sides of it, and I get asked all the time. I mean, not a day goes by where I don't get a message from someone, whether it's on social media, email, to the channel or whatever. Why don't you do play-alongs with songs? Why don't you do stuff featuring artist music? Why don't you incorporate that? And look, I could, from day one, I could have done play-alongs
Hmm.
and done more than anyone else probably on YouTube. I could have left Daisy Pepper in the dust with the amount of play-alongs I could do. But I'm again from day one, I made a very clear decision that I wouldn't do anything that would infringe on copyright because I saw absolutely no purpose. Bearing in mind what was the raison d'etre for doing the YouTube channel, I wanted to create a library of bass reviews and demos for people to refer to, that if we didn't come out of lockdown, they could still buy equipment without having to go to a shop to try it. So if you've got me doing that and the videos convey what the instrument is about and how it sounds, you can buy with at least some sense of knowledge what you're buying. That was the idea.
Hmm.
But it was a way for me to earn money. That's what the channel was about. I wasn't doing the channel as an ego boost or an ego massage. I don't need that. I don't need that sort of thing, which probably explained why I didn't do a YouTube channel until we were in lockdown. I just didn't see the importance of it. And I was very aware of the copyright situation even before all of that. So when I started the channel, I said to myself, do not use copyrighted material, because at some point, and no one knows when this is going to happen, the copyright guillotine is going to fall. And you will find when the tree gets shaken, there aren't going to be a huge amount of YouTube channels musically left. A lot of channels and people that earn very good money currently don't pay the license fees for using the music.
Right.
Because trying to license music and copyright is a real pain in the backside, as I've tried to do it, and it's just like, how many hoops do you want me to jump through? Like, I'm willing to pay for these licenses, and it's just a nightmare. You actually need someone who knows the system and knows the industry to be able to do that properly and effectively. You're trying to give them money to use the music, and they make it as hard as possible. So I said I wouldn't use anything that was copyrighted, because at some point in the future, that is going to become not feasible. And there are people that might have 10 videos on their channel with music that they've used to demonstrate and stuff, and they will lose their channel. They'll get 3 copyright strikes, bang, done, gone. And I just didn't see the point in creating a channel with all the content and everything else to then lose it for the stupidity of using something that was already copyrighted. So I've noticed on quite a few bass channels that sprung up during lockdown, where people were sat there posing in front of their mirror, shaking their hair, ample chests, being heftily exposed, playing along to their favorite songs. Their content has severely dried up recently, and I'm thinking a lot of them may have had 2 copyright strikes, and they know they get the 3rd, they're gone. And so that's what's seen a lot of that slow down.
I don't know if we've ever had that chat, have we? Where we talk about all that for a YouTube channel?
No, we haven't. It's a very bizarre basket of snakes to deal with, because there's nothing you can go and check to find out which songs and which artists and which material will invoke a copyright claim, which is the lesser of the 2 evils, or a copyright strike. So I know some people do bass channels and they're doing play-alongs, and they may well have, it's like a game of hopscotch. You might have just managed to navigate your way through and pick the songs by sheer chance that didn't invoke copyright strikes. But then again, other people do it and they go bang, 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 and the channel's gone.
It's funny how that
You
works.
just don't know, and you can't check it. You can't check it in advance. Like when I was doing the bass string experiment series, I was walking around at festivals talking to the camera. There was music in the background, not particularly audible, but clearly the algorithm picked up on it. I got multiple copyright claims, and I had to cut those sections of the videos out or leave them and lose up to 75% of the earning potential of that video. The one that really annoyed me was the one where I was sat in a dressing room doing a live chat, and there was music in the hall that we were going to be playing in. And somehow the algorithm managed to decipher what the lyric was for that song. I couldn't even hear singing on the video, but it managed to pick out what it was. And before I'd even got home from that gig, that live chat obviously had gone up and uploaded itself. There was a copyright claim on it. And I'm trying to avoid all these things. So now when I'm filming out or we're at gigs or whatever, a lot of the time, like in the middle of a gig, I can't talk after the gig because there's music playing in the hall. And then I'm going to invoke another copyright claim or a strike, because you don't know which artists and which publishing houses will invoke strikes straight off the bat. You don't know.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Which is why I would love nothing more than to fill my channel with play-alongs, because it would give me so many views, so many more subscribers. This channel could probably be on 20,000 subscribers plus if I'd done that. But I can't risk all the time and effort I've plowed into the channel, and will continue to do so, for the sake of losing it for playing 3 songs that are copyrighted. What's the point?
See, that's what's funny about YouTube, because I have a channel, as you know, and all of mine is nothing but, playing basses, twiddling knobs, doing all this goofy stuff. But everybody has a purpose for why they started the channel, besides, of course, the average, what we all agree upon is, monetize and whatnot. But I started mine just because I had 14 Spectre basses, and I was getting questions asked about what does this one sound like versus what does that one sound like.
Yeah.
So I made a video of each bass, and stuck them out there. And I didn't play anybody's songs. I just kind of whittled along and, did this and that. And this knob, you do this, and this does this, and, do all the usual
Mhm.
stuff. And it's grown into itself because people are looking for reference points for when they want to go purchase a secondhand bass. Trust me, I get the most I've got on my channel is all the Rickenbackers.
Mm.
And it's because there's so many people who are curious, or they even exceeding the WoW base. That's a shock, But the Ricks are top of the note every month at
Mm.
the top of the note.
Was like the Kabiki video, the Kabiki
Mhm.
review. That still gets me thousands of views
Yep.
all the time because, well, I'm very lucky. Carla Kabiki put the video up on the kabiki.com website.
Right.
But still, if you search for it, if you just go in, type Kabiki Factor, Kabiki X Factor, that video comes up as one of the highest ranking. It's not the oldest video. There are videos on there much older with far more views. But for some reason, maybe it's the thumbnail, maybe it's the description, maybe it's the feedback on that video in terms of likes, comments, and shares. It always comes up very close to the top. It's like, well, if I go in now, just open up a YouTube window and type in Kabiki X Factor and see. Well, funnily enough, the demo is doing better than the review video.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about 6th or 7th in the list. That's all right. I can go with that. But either way, that video is 59 times more successful than the average video on my channel. It's been up for 3 years. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, yeah, well, that was as I said, that was my point for doing the channel in the first place. Was we went in a lockdown, and once I realised we weren't going to be gigging anytime soon, I thought, well, I've got to make some money. Although didn't make any money out of YouTube until we were back out of COVID. But then because actually on the day we went in a lockdown, I posted up on my Facebook page. Does anyone, bass player wise, that follows my regular personal Facebook page want any bass demos done? Because that's what I did for the magazine. You do demos and reviews and what have you. And I said, if anyone's out there thinking of buying a particular bass or whatever, let me know. If I've got it here, I'll happily do a demo or a review for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can make up your mind, because you're not going to be able to get to the shops to try it. So,
Right.
if you're going to use some of your furlough money to go and buy a Betsy or a whatever I had at the time, well, the basses I had here at the time, you need a reference point. And that kind of set the wheels in motion. I thought, I need like a central repository for all this stuff. And I had all my magazine stuff, which was up on my personal Facebook page. And I thought, well, And then we got into the June, and I started setting up all the basses and restringing, not knowing if we were ever going to get back out. I thought, well, while you've got the time, you had the garage built so that you had a little workshop, get in there and start doing it. So I started doing it. And it was only when I finished doing the last one, I was restringing the Spectre, and I'm sat there and I thought, you could put this on it, because I was watching Dave's World of Fun Stuff. I was thinking, you should have filmed some of this. You could have put this up on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
You should do a YouTube channel. You should call it Brooks's Bass Corner. And that was it. I didn't even think of anything else named. I thought, well, that's it, isn't it? That's what you... But I just missed out on like resetting up 30 basses and didn't film any.
Time for
Idiot. I missed out on the gold. So, and that was it. And and also the fact that a friend of mine had redone his whole channel, and his first video as we went into lockdown, about a week after we went in lockdown, his video was, and he couldn't have timed it any better if he tried, the most expensive audio interface versus the cheapest audio interface. And it just went boom. He got something like about 300,000 views, I think, in the first fortnight. That was his channel monetized. He was off and flying. I think he's on about 30,000 subs now.
Yeah.
Doing very well. And that was an impetus. And I thought, well, I knew, well, at the time I'd been told by my editor that the advertising budgets at the mag had dropped from 100% to 25% of what we would regularly have. And there was going to be no writing work for me going forward until the budgets came back up. So I was like, okay, right. So what have I actually got coming in? And there was nothing apart from what little the government might have slung my way. And then there's the realization that we were not going to be getting back out and playing that summer. It was like, well, you better find something quick. So, like I say, did the YouTube channel knowing that you're never going to have that amount of time in your life ever again free to get the content in there and do it. But the bizarre thing that I didn't actually get a penny out of YouTube until 2023, which is like 3 years later. But there we go.
Yep.
But I am now. But again, I look back and I think of all that content I created at that time, I wouldn't have the time to do it now. I was churning out 3 videos a week at one point.
Yep. Every time I'd shift a base, I'd make a video.
Yeah. Well, that's how I've discovered your videos. Was I mean, it's got to be going back 2013, 2014.
Probably, yeah.
Probably when I was sat in a lap doing one of my regular month-long trips and probably doing reviews for the mag, because I used to take a load of my review work away and write it sat next to the pool with beers and cocktails to my right-hand side. And I would probably search YouTube for info and see if there were any other online reviews relating to bases that I was looking at. And I must have done it, and that's how I discovered your sort of JD and Alembic videos and Spectre videos and, the base Exotica world. And I thought, he seems to know what he's talking about. Little did I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was how I sort of stumbled upon your world, really. And yeah.
And here
I
we
just thought you since I always assumed you ran a base shop because you were always selling the stuff. You were working in a shop.
I wasn't.
You weren't. So it was just they were your own bases that you were selling.
Right, because what I was doing is I part of it, and I don't know again if we've ever really dabbled in this one either, but when you're looking at something, or you just like the thrill of the hunt, as it were. Let's get the foxes in the house. Let's go running, shall we? But at some point, I mean, I was hunting for a sound initially, which is why I don't even want to tell you how many Rickenbackers I've had lifetime.
You've 175.
I've had more than Geezer Butler and Geddy Lee put together.
Yeah, looking for the elusive one.
It's bonkers. Let me just say that it's bonkers. But,
I'd have given up after about 15 and just thought, well, this ain't going to happen.
Well, I could have by rights, but there comes that little thing in the back of your mind that's the thrill of the hunt. It's like, well, what does this one do that one doesn't?
Yeah.
So you start shifting them around a little bit to try to find that thing that you're looking for, or you think you're looking for, and it's in the neck, or it's in this, or whatever excuse put out. And they just keep multiplying. There was one time back some years ago when nobody wanted a 4001 base. I had 15 of them sitting on a rack, all from 1972 to 1980, all different colors. It looked like a rainbow rack, like I was about to eat Skittles, And so, that I started to shift things around and move things around because that was what needed to happen. And I used to do all kinds of mess for it because, well, haven't you got a real base? I know you've got all those, but got a real base? It's like, in the hands of the right person, real base, step off, your time is done. So, but that's kind of the thrill of the hunt, or the thrill of the chase, motivates a lot of people to swap all the time. So, that's why I've had 6 walls, much to my dismay that I don't have at least one now, but that's okay.
Yeah. Sold too early.
Well, I mean, if you think back, you could purchase a very nice Mark I. I got it for $8.99. and it was an 84 with a Wingate top and back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then I had that was the one, and then the others were, you know, a wee bit more expensive as it went along, and I imported a few of them from the UK because for whatever reason, a lot of the guys in the UK didn't want to purchase them. So I'm like, hi, I'm here, you know, let's go.
Yeah.
So I had some really cool ones, and you know, of course, those are all gone. But I have some of the record in photos, and of course, I have a couple of videos. But you know, it's really the chase keeps you going, and that's where that gear acquisition syndrome comes from. You
Yeah.
know, take gas for short. You know, so
I've never really, I understand it, and I've had probably moments that would be considered mild gas, but I've never had that thing where you're elusively looking for something. I've been very lucky that I think that kind of when I was starting to build this, not necessarily intentionally, but everything obviously was a lot cheaper and eBay was a younger thing.
yeah,
And I think for me, it's all slowed down because everyone knows what everything is worth now.
right.
Whereas back in the early 2000s, you were getting people selling off gear that they really didn't know what something was worth. And, you know, it was more the hunt of a good bargain. Not that
Mm,
you wanted to do them out of the money, but it was just like if someone's going to sell you a Kabiki at 600 quid, which at that time, they weren't collectible.
right.
And 600 was reasonable. I mean, I passed up at Status Empathy for 495. I just
Mm,
answered the ad too late. They went, "Oh no, someone came and picked it up like 3 hours ago." I was like,
yep.
in an orange burst over quilted maple for 495, not
Yep.
1495, 495.
54.5. Yes.
And it's just the way things were back then. It was very different. But I've never really suffered from that whole, you know, I don't buy one and then suddenly, oh, what am I looking for next? I'm very happy that at the moment I'm not looking for anything. I've kind of got what I want. I know I've got the bases I need to do all the gigs that are probably going to come my way
Mm,
between now and packing it in, hopefully in about 25 years, maybe.
there you go.
But, you know, I don't sit there like trawling ads trying to find what my next thing's going to be.
I
I
don't
can't
either.
say I've never done it, but that that would have been a lot longer ago when I thought there were more things that I might end up doing that I might need something for. So, you know, I didn't get on the Fender bus for a very long time, but I was always thinking you need to get a precision at some point. You got to have a jazz. You might need a 5-string jazz. You've got to look at, you know, and the problem with a lot of those things is there's so many models by so many companies. How do
Right.
you even begin to know what you want to go for? You
Right.
know, and then Lakeland are doing their version, Status have got their version. Then you've got all the Ibanez's and the Yamahas and and actually, for me, until I got in with the magazine and doing all of that stuff, your only exposure was to keep going in guitar shops and trying all
Right.
this stuff.
Right.
But then once I was at the mag and I'm getting stuff appearing on my door literally weekly, suddenly you're getting all the new stuff as it comes out. You haven't got to go to the shops anymore, and you can actually try it on your home setup
Hmm.
in the privacy of your own home. You can make
Yep.
mistakes, you can check everything out, and you know, suss it all out.
And it also
Made
dials
things a bit easier.
that. Yeah.
Say
It
again?
dials in your ear when you do that.
Yeah.
After a
Yes.
while, you start to realize that what some people are finding they're excited about is actually nothing more than hype. And then you can find some really amazing things that you never thought would be amazing.
Especially regarding amplification.
Right.
I've never seen so much gear wrapped up as the Emperor's New Clothes, and people sell a perfectly good bass rig to buy the new thing with all the extra gadgets, with all the hi-fi top end they could possibly ever need. Not that they play a style that needs immense amounts of top end, or because
Right.
their favorite player just went and endorsed this rig, so I have to have it. And then that famous player dropping that and going to something else, and then another rig comes out by another company, and suddenly that's flavor of the month. Right, so I ditched the thing that 6 months ago was the best thing that's ever come out, and I'll lose like a couple of grand on that, and I will just go and buy this, and I'll be the new. And I've seen that over 30 years. I've seen it happen so many times when EBS was everything you could possibly ever want and ever need, but it never fulfilled here in the UK what it possibly should have been. I was a big fan of it. I loved it. I've still got all my stuff.
Mhm.
But then Mark Base comes out, and then Ashdown, I've got Neos, and then Gallien-Kruger's the thing, and everyone wants Gallien-Kruger, and then TC Electronic come along, and that is the best stuff you're ever going to buy. The amount of gear rigs that went up for sale on forums when TC Electronic stuff came out. And I'm like, but all you're doing is selling what you've already got that is amazing to buy something else because it's brand new. I don't get it. I don't get it. And then the TC Electronic gear was very, very good. But as soon as Behringer bought it out, all those big name endorsees disappeared because they weren't going to get the endorsement deal, and B, they had no worldwide support.
Right. See,
that all changed.
Same thing here. I mean, because so for me, my two favorites that have been here the entire time are either Ampeg or Trace Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried a few other things. I tried some Sun amps. I tried some acoustic amps. They're amazing, but they're also old. And that means if you're going to have a breakdown, you have to think about where you're going to get parts and fix whatnot. And now with Ampeg, I can do that. With Trace Elliott, and it's kind of a mixed bag because the store here, the shop that's called British Audio, bought out the surplus of all the remaining Trace parts when PV shut it down before the Elf and all that. And even then, that's still a challenge trying to get stuff sorted. So, if I'm going to continue, I know that if I go out on the road somewhere, if I'm out on a date or on a gig, I'm endorsed by Ampeg. I have an Ampeg endorsement right now, and I have had for the past 10 years or so, because I know that everywhere I go, if I need backline and it's in my contract or in my rider, Ampeg is everywhere.
Yes.
I asked Mark over at Ashdown if there was a way to, transition me over, because I kind of like the Ashdown stuff, like you and I spoke about, the Trace stuff and the Ashdown stuff, all Clive buttons, all that into design and all that stuff you and I chatted about. But the question is, can I get it everywhere? And the answer is not necessarily. So if I'm out and about somewhere in, small town Surprise, and I have, my meter is doing this and then decides to quit, how do I get that sorted? And is there something to replace if I need it in a pinch? And that was a tough call. Because we've spoken about that. He and I have spoken about that a few times over the years. And I can't bring myself to do it as much as I'd like to, because I'd love to have the idea of the old Trace sound somewhere in those switches and dashes. And I just can't do it because I don't know if I have the support behind it to make it work.
That's it. And I mean, part of the reason I started using Aguilar was when Dave was still there. Dave Avenius and I had a chat, and he said, well, what sort of work are you doing? What sort of stuff? And I explained it. And when I was doing the trips abroad, he said, well, you do realize that, if you come on board with us, we'll just provide all your backline. I said, well, how does that work? He said, well, you just tell us where you're going, and our local distributor will go and put the rig in for you. You turn up at the venue, it's already there. And then when you're finished, he'll be at the back door and he'll pick it back up. It's like, for me, he said, yeah. I said, but I'm not a big enough name. How does that? He said, no. It doesn't work like that. He said, if you're an endorsed artist, that's part of the service we offer. We don't have a huge roster of endorsed artists. He said, okay, your name isn't famous, so we're not going to put you on advertising and stuff, but you're an endorsed artist. You're a good advert. So when you're doing stuff abroad, you give me a week's notice. I contact our local distributor. So if you're doing that month-long run of shows that you do, you tell us what date you need that gear there for. It'll turn up probably the morning before the night of the gig, and we'll pick it up the day after you finish. It's as simple as that. I was like,
they don't do that anymore.
Really? No. No. Well, this is the thing. Now I have no contacts at Aguilar in America.
Right.
And
Right.
it's like, right, so that doesn't extend anymore. It's fine here in the UK with Barnes and Mullins, no problem.
Sure.
But that whole traveling bass player will cover you thing, unless you're an American artist and they have regular contact, it's gone. It's not there. And I'm hearing so much on social media about bad customer service from Korg that I'm kind of reappraising that whole situation. But you know, I'm 52. I've got a wall of amplification. I've got more than I possibly need, and I don't really need to worry. If stuff went down, I've got enough gear to get me through the following day, and we'll see. We'll see, won't we? We'll see
You
how
know
it
what?
all pans out.
When Peavy had put Trace Elliott to rest, I had 50 Trace setups in my storage room.
Well,
I
have
had.
you seen the post from Ali?
I have.
Have you not seen? Oh,
I'll go look. I'll go.
it's the same.
Right.
Well,
So
maybe 20 setups, combos, crossing the whole length and breadth of Trace Elliott from start to
that
finish.
I had the same thing. I had everything. I had the 210 combo. I had the 410 combo. I had 3 stacks with 4x10 up top and 1x15 on the bottom. I had the 8x10. I had these two by 15 boxes, and then I had them all with AH 600s. I even had an AH 1200 stuffed in there somewhere. It was bonkers to move it all. But I mean, I'll tell you what, if
Yeah.
you put that up on the side of a stage, people's eyes get this big.
Yeah.
But then again, I have to have a, shall we say, I have to have a lorry to move it. So
Yeah, you need like a forklift to get it
right,
all around. It's because it's a backbreaker.
it is, and that's
There's a
why.
reason it fell out of favor. And also what you were alluding to before, it's now of a certain age and vintage where components are dying, dry joints on the boards. And
Yep.
How are you going to get it fixed? Well, it's like we said to Joe Goose weeks ago, you're going to buy a Trace Elliott old style, even an SMX is 30 years old.
It is.
Plus, you need to put some money in your budget aside for repairs and make sure you know where you're going to take that to have it repaired.
Right, right. And so, so that's the reason why I was actually speaking with PV as they were letting it fall to pieces, because I would have gladly jumped on the wagon because I had so much of it already, it would have made sense. And we never got that far. And I was still, I was back to the Ampeg again. And I've never had difficulty with sorting out anything, even through all the owners and the companies that have bought and sold them. I've never had trouble with customer service with Ampeg. So the bottom line is, and this is something that I think about because I've got you by a couple of years, and so
Catching up.
I well,
But you'll always be slightly in front.
right. I was gonna say the only way you can catch up is if I'm in the ground somewhere, and that's not
Yeah.
happening yet. But to me, the idea is if you have a nice setup, be content with what you have.
Yeah.
Because you could go shift it around and spend thousands on, getting the lightweight little, surprise thing, and it never ends. So when we speak about gas and that kind of thing, it never really ends until you decide to end it, and that's just simply being so content. Something you said earlier about, you've got the array of guitars and you've got the amps and everything, so you don't have to go seeking out looking for the challenge for the next bit. The next piece of you don't need the next greatest piece of kit because you've already got it sitting next to you with the LEDs and so it's that when you reach that point and you realize that you've got everything you need for what you're doing, it's a nice breath of relax.
I think I hit my sound when I went back to the Empathy in 2007. So I'd had in my head the sound I wanted.
Mhm.
And a lot of it actually was built around the Kasim Sultan Spectre sound that I heard at Hall & Oates that I had
Sure.
an audio recording of when they did a gig like a couple of months earlier. And there was like this fat bottom end, a really gritty mid-range, and this spiky top end that verged on Mark King, hi-fi, but it wasn't just that, but there was body in the notes and what have you. And for years I kind of worked toward, I could hear it in my head what I wanted, but it was the selection of components, and where I went through different bases, you'd find elements of it, but not all the same things in one package.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're with one amp brand, that's going to color it.
Right.
And then when you move to another amp brand, a bass that wasn't in favor before suddenly takes on a whole new character. So when I first got the Empathy, it wasn't what I wanted at all, even though for me it was like one of my dream basses. And it wasn't till 5 years later, so the T bass had come in, the Series 2000 had come in, multiple other things came in. I'd had the GB made, which was meant to be my bass of all time. That had that was getting me very close to the tone I was after. In fact, the GB probably got me closest to it. And then I did a restring on the Empathy, and someone wanted to buy it, and I thought, right, I'm going to give it 1 month, and if after that month I can't make this bass work in the gigs I'm doing and it makes me happy, then it's going. And so I restrung it, different brand of strings, different gauge, different material. Did a full setup on the bass, adjusted the pickup height, sorted the action and everything. Took it out on a gig, and it was a revelation. I was like, why wasn't it like this before?
Mm-hmm.
Why wasn't it like this? And then between that bass, the strings I was using, having changed to a different brand for that bass,
Mm-hmm.
I'd moved to EBS, had the Fafners, so that bass now sounded totally different to how it sounded through a Hartkey rig. And then working with it, I managed to get, which for me, so I moved back to that bass in 2007. I reckon I probably had my bass tone with that bass from about 2008 until I changed string brand to Rotor Sound in 2015. The Rotor Sounds give that bass another different tone. It's not the tone that I had with the Piccatos, but I can't have Piccato strings anymore because they don't exist.
Right.
So the tone with the Rotor Sound strings on that bass is a different flavor, but I'm still in the ballpark of what the tone I was after, what I can get out of that bass. So for me, once I found that, I've never thought I'm missing my tone. I'm never going to be a famous Sheehan or a Mark King or a Marcus. No one's ever going to come to me or go to someone and say, I want the Mike Brooks tone. I'm not on any records. I'm not on, I'm not that level. But I know that I found my tone, and I haven't got to go looking for it. I know what it is. I know what components create that. So since that point, everything I've bought has been for a purpose. Well, it'll have a different sound than that, and this is going to do something different to what the Empathy does. So that's kind of the way I've worked it.
Yeah.
Mike Link Music, you're loving the discussion. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I hope you're enjoying it, gang.
I like the fact that, there are so many things to pick from. And once you figure it out, then the rest is just sprinkles on the cake. Because, so I'll give you an example. I did Bluesman Vintage for a number of years. And when he was just building fresh and doing all that, actually, Sir Nick had one of them and still does. It's still sitting in the pile, if you will, that I had made up for him special to go along its Fiesta Red, et cetera. And I'll tell you about that later. But I had a pink P bass made with a neck with a jazz width and the D tuner. But I had it done with the DiMarzios at the time for the Attitude bass, and then the Model 1 humbucker, mudbucker sitting at the neck. Mm-hmm. So what I was doing is I was making a kind of a salute to Mr. Sheehan for the wife bass, just my version of it. So, all the bits and bobs that made it what I wanted it to be. And I used it for about 6 years. And I finally realized at some point that, yes, I need that sound, but there's something missing. And I think the only way that I'm going to find it is if I actually go purchase an Attitude. So I did a few rearrangings and I shifted along all the Bluesman basses, and that was the one I had last. And actually, Andy Irvine has it now, and he's painted it white and done all this other stuff to it. Much more power to him. It's his bass. And I picked up an Attitude bass, and it was on. And it's like, as soon as I picked it up and started running with it, I'm like, okay, This is the P bass on steroids that I have been looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't need to go jumping on the Fender bus. I didn't need to go, you know, try to find something or other that I thought would make it work, because it's already there, and all I have to do is just make a few adjustments for me, i.e., string gauge and setup. And because I mean, if you played my attitude, the swirly one, you'd be shocked, I think, because the strings are just about laying on the frets, and they are the custom gauge that Kalium makes for me. So they
Mm-hmm.
are very light, very springy. You can do all kinds of acrobatics with them, but at the same time, it plays itself to where it's not a lot of effort.
Which
And
is the ideal for any bass.
indeed, so this is why, to use Sir Nick's term, this is why I valet my own stuff,
Yeah.
because I know exactly what I'm looking for in a setup. And to do the setup, I try to explain it to someone and they don't understand, and I end up redoing it anyway. So, but the point is, after going through and trying to find this specific tone that I knew I needed because it's the standard for everything anyway, I
Mm-hmm.
found it in the Billy Sheehan modified version that just works for me, and I don't sound like Billy when I play it, because I'm not trying to be that
You're not,
guy.
and you're not him.
Right. I don't have his hands and I'm not him. And he and I've had many a conversation about that, because one of the first times we visited and hung out together, I told him, I said, I'm inspired by what you do, but I know that I'm not you. And so I'm not going to try to be you. At the same time, I love what you've done with the bass. So this is what I've
Mm.
done. And, somewhere there's a photo out there I had given him mine to play. And there he is holding it with a glass of red wine. Cheers, let's go. And his comment to me was, I remember light gauge strings, you know. But
Oh, okay.
so the point is, again, that bass is my virtual number one for just about everything, because it's dialed in, it never moves. I've
Mm.
taken it to climates and altitudes. That big neck never moves. And so, if I can go from here to Alaska where it's minus 50 legitimately, and I don't have to reset the neck or do anything with
Mm.
it, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
And so in the gear quest, again, I come back to the idea of being content, because that one does everything I need it to do. It is consistent. I don't have to muck about with it too much. And I know what it does, so I don't have to think too much about it, you know? And it's the same with the JDs. I've dialed the JDs in such a way that you'd look at me and tell me I was daft if you played mine, because they do just what the attitude does, maybe with a little more adjustment here and there because of the neck, etc., but not much. And
Mm.
I mean, they do exactly what I hope they would do and more. And so, the fretless is just what the fretless does. And of course, again, we're not going to revisit all that chatter we've done over the past couple of weeks, but there's a sound there. Yeah, there's a sound there that I like, that I can't get out of another fretless.
Yeah.
It's the woodsy thing, like we talked about. But even the fretted one, and the fretted one obviously is very different from most of the ones everybody has, because they've got Mark King's special, where the whole package with the pickups and EQ and all that. And this is just the Rode E1 with nothing but one pickup and volume and tone. So when you dial it in, when you figure out what you've got and you dial it into that spot, and you can sit there and go, I can use this for this gig, this gig, this gig, that over there, plus record it. I think
Mm.
it's a
I think we've said this before. I can't remember actually.
yeah,
I think we are. I think we're on the same line with this. Is that people are always too easily sidetracked into thinking a piece of gear, an amp, a pedal, or something is going to give them the sound they want, when actually all it is that, a bit of that, and some time.
right.
And I find with a lot of players, they're always too eager to like any active controls or whatever, they go full whack,
Hmm.
when actually only just small increments are all you need to make the change that you're probably looking for. And in doing a full whack, turn a control all the way up, you're completely running past that sweet spot, which is actually what you're looking for.
Yeah.
I learned very, very quick, and it's something I picked up at the bass center watching names, and you'd sit there and they'd play a bass, and then they put their hand on a control and literally just the minutest move, and suddenly it's a totally different sound.
Yep.
And I'm like, how did they know to do that? Because they've worked in bloody studios. They've
Right.
had engineers and producers sit there and focus on the merest hint of a frequency shift
Mm-hmm.
in an EQ. And it's like, you don't do that unless you're in that situation. You don't know how to do it. But they
Right.
know that within an active EQ on a bass or an amp or with a 12-band graphic or whatever, they know where those sweet spots are.
Mm-hmm.
So if they pick up a bass and it's not glassy or it's not spiky where they want it to be, or it's not throaty, or it's not rumbling, they know roughly where they're going and what they need to increase, but also what to decrease.
And their playing style will measure up to where they've dialed it in, because once they hear that sweet spot, you say, their playing is just going to kind of work in. So you hear people and you hear this sound and you hear this tone and you want to try to get what they do.
Mm.
You can get their gear, you can get their strings, you can purchase the amp rig and do all that mess. You still don't have these. And if you dial it in, the key to it is if you find yourself in that rig, if you find yourself in that guitar, if you find yourself with all of that, you'll find you, even though your influences may be the ones we've already spoken about, you will still be heard as you and not as this guy, or that girl over there.
No, I agree. But what I was saying just there was people seem too readily accepting that in order to get what they're after, they've got to go and buy another bit of gear.
Right, right.
Whereas sometimes they've actually got 95% of what they need to get what they're after, but they can't find that last 5%. So it has to be a bit of gear. And in half the time, it's not. You've got the gear. You just need to know how to use it.
Yep. Spend some time in the, if you will, tweaking.
And the bass shows and in bass stores is the perfect place to see this, because you'll see people. I'm not talking about beginners. I'm talking about people who actually sometimes should know a little better. Where they've probably been playing like 5-10 years, but they still haven't worked out that literally a minor tweak of an EQ control.
Right.
I can hear what they're trying to achieve. I can't get the such and such a tone that I'm after. And it's like, well, you've got everything on blasting on 100%. That's why. So if you want something with a little less wah, then just pull those mids back and just dial down the treble a little and maybe just boost the bass. But again, you might not need to. If you pull stuff out, sometimes you don't need to increase what you're trying to gain. One of the things I learned at the bass center was they would always say everyone wanted to have hyper slappy sound with loads of treble and loads of bass. Well, if you bring the bass down a little, you don't need any more treble. And if you bring the treble down a lot, so it's not just this acute V shape, suddenly everything sounds a lot more bearable, and you actually acquire what you were after without destroying your backline and going through speaker cabinet cones every week.
And driving everybody else nuts.
Yeah. Blowing tweeters and wondering why you're blowing them up every month. Well, it's because you've got excess bass and excess treble. Just pull them both down a little.
Right.
And suddenly everything will cope. Unknown. Hello. Anyone here I can. That's not English. If you can rephrase that, we'll see if we can. I don't know what you're trying to say.
Maybe we can't.
Maybe we can't. You can or you can't.
Well, it depends
on
on
what you're after, sir.
You can or you can't.
Yeah. If you're here for bass chat and friendly, then all good. If you're here to be disruptive and a dope,
Cheerio.
go in and I'll just report your channel. I'm hoping you're here genuinely and you actually want to enter the discussion. Because we had a couple of people recently who came on and were rather rude, and I reported their channels, and funnily enough, their channels got taken away.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I tell you, I run a hard line here.
Maybe you need more.
Maybe I need what?
More cake.
More cake. Well, there's always room for more cake, isn't there?
The,
Frankly,
the tea.
yeah,
Nice. For me, it'd be a nice
uh,
cake. Yes.
yeah, cake every time.
Mm-hmm.
Birthday coming soon, end of April, so there'll be time for cake.
March for me.
March, yeah,
End
cool.
of this month, I'm kicking up a notch.
That's it.
Yep.
Going into supercharge mode.
Well, it's like you've heard me say, I'm sure a bunch of times, best days are ahead.
Yeah, quite. Now while you're here, I haven't been able to get out of a certain someone what was in Lord Smith of Smithson's effects box. Apparently, there's loads of pedals, but I'm awaiting a list or photos. Do you know what was there?
I do not.
Don't bother saying Mugen Taurus pedals because that doesn't do anything for me. But I don't know what actual effects pedals he had.
Don't actually know.
There's a lot of stuff there that's just
Oh,
not
indeed.
accounted for.
Yeah, it's almost like it needs to have an inventory done
Mm,
where you, again, to your point, have a list where you can kind of look at everything and value it based on market and whatnot. And
yeah,
I mean, because he was a guy with all the stuff,
yeah.
anything's
There was some guy checking in. Good to see you. Good to see you too. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, there was she pulled out a JV Squire. And I didn't know it was a JV. All I got was a photo of a headstock that said Squire by Fender. And she said, "What do you think about this?" I said, "Can you tell me any more?" And she had an email from someone.
Yep.
And it was actually between Nick and the guy.
Okay.
And in there it said, "Oh no, this is my Squire JV bass." I said, "Right, hold on." Went on a Google and
Right.
pulled up about 8 photos of recently sold JV basses. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking between 1,500 and 1,750 quid. I said,
Right.
and that's why you ask. That's why you ask the likes of me what
Yes.
these are worth. Because
Right.
if you assumed it was a Squire and took it into a cash converter, or not that she would take it into a cash converter, so they go, "Oh yeah, 200 quid for that."
200 quid. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It would say, right.
And it's a JV, and it's an 83.
Lovely.
So that's collector's territory. So I've suggested a commission sale for that. I
Good
said
plan.
you need to get that exposed to a worldwide audience because a collector will buy that. Whereas if you put it out on a auction forum or whatever, you're not going to get what it's worth. But you need to be getting what it's worth. So go with one of the commission sales from the retailers, and let that thing do its magic because it will do it for you.
Oh,
Once
easily.
it's exposed to their customer bases.
Yep. Yep. Well, there you go. I don't know how much else. I mean, because again, he had so much stuff.
Mm.
It's going to be a moment, I think, before any of us actually are able to see through the immense collection.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot there. Although, actually, if I'm honest, based on a lot of the photos I've seen, there's not as much as I thought there was.
Yeah.
I think there had been periodic, what's the word? Periodic
Shiftings.
cashings in.
Right.
Put it that way. There's a lot of stuff that sort of clearly has moved over time that I was unaware of. But then when I was there last July, I remember thinking there's not as much as I was expecting there to be. And some of the things that were in their guitars and basses weren't his anyway. They were there for doing up for
Right.
customers. So that's all good. Some guy, buddy of mine, got his 57 Strat in front of Joe Walsh, but he lowballed on an offer.
Of course he did.
Joe Walsh. Well, exactly. Rich people are rich for a reason.
Reason.
They don't easily relinquish their cash.
No. And that's why they've got a bunch of it, because they don't give it up that easily.
There'll be other buyers, I'm sure.
Guaranteed.
57 Strat, just a bit.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I think you're in America, some guy. I can't remember. You might want to check out if a retailer does commission sales, and then that exposes, if they've got websites and what have you, exposes to a worldwide audience. We've got 3 major retailers here in the UK that are base specific. They have very tightly knitted audiences, customer bases. So they have buyers in Japan and Australia and Germany and all over the world who will watch their inventory regularly. And that's how, for example, say there's a Geddy Lee fan in Philippines and has lots and lots of money, and he will watch those retailers in case anything Geddy Lee wall based turns up, and suddenly they have the money to buy the bells and whistles 12 grand wall that might come in commission sales. Although you've got to give up some of the purchase price, it will get you a much higher price than you trying to sell independently. Lower end stuff, grand or less, you're worth doing on your own. But once you get into collectibles and rarities, getting exposed to the commission sellers customer base is everything.
Absolutely.
I think.
I was chuckling because somebody out here in the lot was playing Don Henley Dirty Laundry, and based on our previous chat, I just thought,
good timing.
What are the odds, right?
Well,
indeed.
Yeah, there, see?
Yeah.
Proper base chats, that.
That's it.
Yeah.
Huh?
So I've got to pick what base I'm taking tonight. I just don't know. I don't know at all. I used the empathy last week because it's just the battering ram. I just get through everything. But I was toying with the Spectre last week, and I might toy with it again. We'll see.
Try that.
See.
Try the Spectre.
I might. I haven't taken it out on a gig since about, crikey. Now there's the thing. I know I had it for our Uncle Funk rehearsal back in 2021, but I haven't gigged with it for quite a while.
Time to do a gig.
Might be. Can't remember if it's got batteries in it. It'll be my luck. I'll put it in the bag, forget to take the batteries. That actually happened on a gig in October. I took the empathy, thinking, oh yeah, I've got batteries in there. And I checked the LED battery before I left. I thought, oh no, I've got a brand new battery in there, it's fine. Got to the gig and there's no signal. What the hell's going on? And I thought, there's just nothing. Open the battery compartments up, no batteries in there.
Whoops.
Thank God we were in the middle of London. All I did was walk around the corner to the local supermarket and bought 2 Duracells off the shelf, which annoyed me because I got boxes of the buggers over here. So I paid through the nose for it. But it was like, you idiot. I haven't done that ever, I think, in my career. But there we are. Too many bases, you see. Too many bases, and I was in a rush.
That's the way.
Such is life.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why
company.
No, there were people walking by. No company here, lad.
Nope. I'm just checking the stream health. Everything's all right. That's all going good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So I'll just make an announcement I made earlier on, just so you're all in the loop, and I'll put this up on community tab and what have you. So the live chats, we got another 3 happening on Saturday afternoons, which is all good, very good, fabulous. Last week I ran a poll while we were doing the live chat. I just wanted to see what people's preferences were, whether we kept the live chats on Saturdays or moved them back to Tuesdays, and it was fairly unanimous. Everyone wanted it to stay on Saturday, of course. However, I have had to make an executive decision, so I have to override the popular demands of the Brooks's Base Corner audience. So because so many of my gigs now on Saturdays, I'm going to be driving in that corridor between midday and 3-4 o'clock, means I cannot deliver any sort of consistent live chat on Saturday afternoons once we get into April. So I have a proposal, which is we will move the live chats back to Tuesday evenings, as we used to do. Evenings here in the UK, afternoons on the East Coast in the US. I think it's about midday on the West Coast when we get started. We're going to move them back to Tuesdays. But what I will endeavour to do, as far as I am able to, based on mobile internet reception, Wi-Fi, what have you, is we'll do Tuesday regular scheduled live chats from 8 o'clock on Tuesday evenings. when I get to my gigs on Saturdays, as long as I have good mobile internet or Wi-Fi, I will do an impromptu live chat. So you'll actually end up with 2 live chats a week, hopefully.
Okay.
Some gigs, some locations, it's not going to be possible. I might have 0 reception and it ain't going to happen. It's going to look like bad Minecraft. But hopefully it'll all work out good. And like I say, you'll end up with 2 live chats in a week. And I can actually show you where we're playing. I can take you through sound check and all of that stuff. And I'm going to be filming for vlogs anyway. So it's all part and parcel of the same thing. So it's all good on that front. The only thing with doing impromptu ones is we'll be on the phone. I don't know if we're going to be able to use StreamYard. Probably not. So you're just going to have me and I'll have the mobile YouTube app. But there we are. So I will put all of that on the community tab, and I'll mention it all on social media as we go forward. So if you start seeing live chats from the start of April appearing in the feed, and they're saying Tuesdays, don't panic. That's the plan. Okay. There we go. Visog, good to see you. Evening all. Can never find the chats anymore. Tuesday for me. What do you mean you can't find the chats? We've been here on Saturday since the start of January. I haven't moved any of the chats. All of the chats have been on Saturdays. You were on the first 6 or 7. But anyway, right. So from April the 1st, they will revert to Tuesdays. That's the way it's going to be. And they won't move back to Saturdays until we get into the sort of Christmas holidays after New Year. So next year, 2026, and we get into that quiet period after Christmas and New Year when everyone's a bit run down. Oh, I'm here on Saturday, but you're not. Fine. Okay. No problem, sir. But yeah, we'll go back to Saturdays when we get into that New Year section. When it's dark and grey and miserable and everyone's trying to save money and not go out. That's when we'll do that. Yeah, right, there we are. Very good. Some guy, I tracked with an Epiphone 5-string bass this week. It's the Epiphone with an upside down neck. I think I've seen those. Okay, and how did it go? I hope your performance was top notch and you were worth every penny of your session fee.
You know, did we speak about 20 seconds?
You dropped in and out there. Say that again.
I said, did we speak about the 22nd in open forum? As far as
22nd
of March, yeah, because I'm going to be at the
from the show. You mentioned it to me.
Okay.
So yeah. What time is that? Will it coincide with our time?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because I want to say that it opens at noon. If it opens at noon, that's 6 o'clock your time.
So we're 6 hours behind.
6 hours behind you, yeah.
Well, on that day we're running from 2 till 6. However, I don't have a gig on the 22nd. So in theory, I can be flexible with that and move it around. The only thing I do know is the following day, the 23rd, I've got a Decades of Dance rehearsal. So I know on the 22nd I need to be doing some practice. So if that means I practice and then move the live chat later, fair enough.
Just a thought, because I know this show brings out a lot of the old rustic, vintage, cool, everything everybody wants, you know. And so it's always nice to see what kind of things are being sold and all that. But at the same time, it's also kind of fun to see what people are asking for them and how much dosh they're going to try to take from you.
Well, possibly in the week leading up to that, I can look at what's going on and how much practice I've put in, and I could move it to 5 till 8. So that will 5 till 8 my time, which will coincide with 11 till 2.
Yeah, just subtract 6 for me. So
okay, all right,
right.
We will discuss.
I have some ideas, but we can do that on the side.
Okay. Some guy, I've been having to dumb it down for the sake of the groove. Welcome to my world.
Talking about the performance? Yeah, talking about the performance dumbing down, as it
Yeah, I think so. I think
right.
so.
Well, again, you play for the song, and then you
That's right.
throw some naughty bits in there when they're not looking.
That's right.
Remember what Chuck Rainey did with a Steely Dan record called Asia? He said no slapping. So what did he do? He
That's
had
right.
them turn around and he moved about the other way, and out came the thumb.
That's right. They
They
couldn't
loved
see it.
the difference until later. So
Exactly.
he's sneaky.
That's right. They will be. You can be
Right,
too.
right. Mhm.
That's exactly right.
Yes, indeed.
What were you going through DI box and amp wise, some guy? What were you using in your tracking? What was in your line of processing? Let me know. Oh, and I should put out there, if anyone is watching and you're in the centre of town, I will be playing at Greek Street Live tonight, round the corner from Tottenham Court Road Tube. It was just literally round the corner from Ronnie Scott's, just literally down the road from Soho Square. So if you're in the vicinity, I'll be at Greek Street Live. Funnily enough, on Greek Street, believe it or you don't, I'll be there probably about 8:15. We're on stage at 9, doing 3 40-minute sets, I think. So it's 5-piece band. Depp drummer tonight, he's in for a bit of fun. So it's a request show. So basically, members of the audience write requests of songs, artist, name of the song, how much they're paying us as a tip.
Right.
Not that we get any of it.
Wow.
Frontman gets it all. And then we'll try and play it. If we know it, you get it. If we don't know it, and we can come to an agreement on stage what we're going to play, then that's fine. And if none of us know it, it ain't happening. Patrick Sweeney, got to go, Mike, Jamie and everyone. It's gig time. See you later. Patrick, have a great gig. Have a great week. See you next time. Take it easy.
Cheers, Pat.
Drive carefully, please.
Cheers, man.
Yeah, rock on. Have a great gig. Enjoy yourself.
Rocket.
So yeah, I'll be in the centre of town tonight doing my thing.
So you'll be around the bend, right?
Say that?
So you'll be around the corner, not round the bend.
Well, I went around there many years ago.
Well, you know.
Some guy, a Fender Rumble mic'd and the DI into an Aurora, then through a nice big analog Neve board. Well, the Neve board will do everything you need. So fab. Enjoy.
Indeed.
I hope you got some good earthy tones out of that.
With a Neve, you should.
Well, also an Epiphone 5-string. It's
not
going
right.
to be particularly high frequency. We're not talking alembic and status here, that's for sure.
Well, you could be speaking Jack Cassidy. Never know.
Well, exactly. Plummy tones.
Right, plummy and woody.
All of that.
Yep.
All of that.
All that enough.
So, coming up on the channel, hopefully I'm going to pull all the stops out tomorrow. So, going to do all the editing that I've got to do on the description boxes of all the videos, social media and affiliate links, get all of that done and up to date. I've got, there's so much. I'll have gig vlog 4 and 5 to get out this week, hopefully. And then we've got 60-second review short of the Ibanez SR300. I've got the full review of the Ibanez SR300 to go. The demo went up a year ago, but the review needs to go. There's then the demo and review of the Warwick Bootsy Collins Space and the Bass Center Snakebite basses, the Neil Murray signatures. They're both here. And we've got the 2 Flatley pedals, although actually only one of them still needs to be reviewed. The other one's done, but I've got shorts to do on the one that doesn't need to be reviewed. And then after that, then it's then we're into free space really, and I can pretty much do what I want. So there's lots of possibilities. I have a whiteboard over here to my left with everything, ideas wise. So we've got the Fretless Odyssey coming. So I'd say the first 8 or 9 episodes of that are scripted. I've just got to film it and do it. We've got the podcast, and then there's just multiple reviews, demos, pedal stuff, old vintage interviews to go through. Then I've got new series. So I don't want to give all the game away, but there's all sorts of stuff. A lot of stuff coming up for beginners. So if you are new to bass playing, starting from scratch, maybe a kid, 10 years old, 12 years old, teenager, I'm going to come up with a load of stuff to kind of get you on the road to being a bass player. And then there's some stuff for the more advanced people.
And a
And a what?
trip to Brum.
Trip to Brum. Imagine.
I can't imagine.
Many people never came back from a trip to Brum.
That's it. And they're going to ask.
And then there's a whole series of how-to videos, and we've got the workshop videos. So the basses, some of them have already been in and been filmed. Some I need to get ready in terms of next weekend, so they will be filmed. Some of this is going to happen tomorrow, so plenty of material coming up here on the channel. No lack of content, that's for sure. So just got to film it, edit it, get it out there.
Perfect. There you go.
No slouching. Yeah.
No, I think
all go.
You get ready to get the hands dirty. I'm getting the notice that says, "Hey, it's time." So,
it's time.
Yeah.
Mate, lovely to see you.
Well,
have a great week.
Yes, you as well. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for hanging with us today, because I know we spent all of our time together
on a Saturday afternoon.
Oh, you know it. Remember, it's only 10:45 here, so
your day's just starting.
I have only begun. Start singing the song.
Mine doesn't finish till about 10 to 2 in the morning, but there we are.
Right.
Happy days.
Indeed.
Right. Well, look after yourself. Drive safely. I will catch you during the week, no doubt.
Sounds good. Easy. Cheers, Mike.
All right, man. Take it easy. See you soon, mate.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. And like that, he disappeared. So there we are. And as soon as he disappears, we lose 2 viewers. How's about that? How does that work? You've got the best looking of the 2. So, yeah, anyway, DL42, yes, great news for me because I'm that noob. Well, DL42, what sort of things would you find useful to see content-wise here on the channel? What would work for you as a new bass player? What would you like to learn? What would you like to know? What would you find useful? Tell me. Your input can sway what I'll work on next, so you give me an idea what things you think you need to know. Give me your suggestions, and anyone else that's watching. And even if you're watching this after the event, after the live stream, leave comments in the comment section. Let me know. And while we're talking about comment section, of course, please give the video a thumbs up if you're enjoying the live chat. We're going to go for about another 12 minutes or so. We'll wrap up at the top of the hour. But please give the video a thumbs up if you're enjoying it. And in fact, any video here on the channel, I've been saying for weeks, I don't ask for subscribers anymore because it's a vanity metric. Thumbs ups, very most important thing you can do for any of my videos here on the channel. Leaving comments, very important. Sharing the videos out to social media, very important. Those 3 things are the big determiners with regard to the YouTube algorithm and how it pushes a video out, promotes the channel. So if you enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't enjoy the video and you're going to give it a thumbs down, then please leave a comment. Tell me what you don't like or what isn't working for you. I can't make it better if I don't know. Some guy looking forward to the Fretless series. So am I. It's been 2 years in the melting pot. I thought I was going to get that series put out in 2023 before summer, and then a load of things happened here at home, family-wise, that changed all of that. So I'm trying my best at the moment to try and get everything sort of back on the track and moving forward. And thankfully, it seems to be working because the YouTube algorithm and the studio analytics is showing that everything's in a very good place. So I will keep going. I'm pushing and pushing, trying to get as much content out. And a lot of it's been backlogged, stuff that was worked on 2 years ago. It's just sat there ready to be finished and uploaded. So I'm working hard on that. DL42 stuff. Oh, sorry, the wrong one. Stuff like what would be good to nail down first. Okay, that's a broad concept, but I can work with it. Also, how to make me stop buying gear and practice more instead. Well, quite a bit of that was what Jamie and I were discussing earlier. It's harder when you're younger because you don't, or when you first start playing bass. You can be any age. It's nothing to do with age. It's to do with experience. And over time, you learn to convey the sounds that you want to hear from your instrument that other people will then hear. And I know when I was younger, I mean, my tonal changes, my tonal tastes have changed over time. I'm less inclined to add lots of top end these days. And I know other bass players in similar boats who've been around the gig scene for years and years and years. There was a time when you just added loads of treble and you wanted to stand out and lots of bite in your tone. And I don't know if it's a hearing thing. I don't think it is, but you do get to a point actually, which I think I hit probably about 10 years ago, where I started to not always have my treble control like full whack. I started sort of edging off it to make my tone a little less brittle. And I think also at that time I changed strings as well. I moved over to Rotor Sound. So obviously they're known for their sort of high top end snarliness, and pulling the treble control slightly off made them sit in a band mix a little better without all the resonance and overtones that those strings can produce, which I love, but it doesn't always fit in a certain band mix. But yeah. So what we were just saying in our chat was, it's very easy sometimes for players to be trying to achieve something, and they think the only way they're going to get to that next point of progression is to go and buy more gear, when in actual fact they've got all the gear and the parameters and the physical requirements to get the sound they're after, but they're going about it the wrong way. So sometimes they're over egging the pudding with EQ, or adding too much of this or not enough of that. And you only learn that stuff through doing it. So it's no surprise that someone who's 50 will, I would hope, have a better grasp of that than someone who's 15, 20, who doesn't have years and years on the clock of gigging and recording and playing. You learn this stuff through time. But also over time, tastes change. I mean, when I started as a pro in 95, everyone was Flea, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Stuart Zender, Jamiroquai, Oasis, Britpop. A lot of the 80s bass players, the 80s technicians, had completely fallen out of favour. No one was after that sound anymore. Stingrays were everywhere. Probably the most popular bass at the time. Warwicks were everywhere. A lot of the 80s bass Exotica are just gone. Statuses weren't selling. Everyone wanted vintage Fenders and Rickenbackers and Gibsons. And here we are 30 years later. I couldn't tell you what the most popular basses are. I think the market is so dispersed in terms of what people are buying. And, fads have changed. A lot of amplification doesn't sell anymore. Lots of people on in-ear setups, all of that sort of thing. Right, I will take your points on board, and I will try and incorporate some of what you've asked for there. You haven't really told me very much, but keep posting ideas here. Keep telling me stuff you would find useful. I'm trying to impart as much of what I know and I've got through experience via the channel as I can. So I'll keep doing that. Some guy, I've recently purchased a Roland Aerophone Mini. I have no idea what that is, which has an iPhone, iPad friendly app and has synth bass sounds. Okay, sounds interesting. The engineers want bass ambience these days, it seems like. Yeah. I've kind of heard similar topics of conversation on various bass forums, that the role of the bass player as a physical entity seems to be changing. And a lot of stuff is being conveyed by bass pedals, synths, or even doing away with bass playing. I mean, Sam Ryder here in the UK, former Eurovision singer and all that. My partner thinks he's wonderful. I don't get it. He doesn't have a bass player in his band. All of his bass lines are on sequence. Okay, it's to keep costs down. He just has a guitarist, a drummer. I don't even think they have a keyboard player. I don't know. But they don't have bass players. It's all sort of pre-recorded and yeah. So maybe our role is changing again. It's always changing, it feels like. And you kind of have to, as a player, you got to find where you're going to fit in, or where is your place to fit in. It's not always clear. Which is a little tricky sometimes to navigate. I remember about 10, 13 years ago was when the whole bass keyboard, bass synth, Moog thing started coming in again. And lots of bass players were taking it up because if they didn't, they weren't going to get the jobs. And that's fine. I didn't see the importance of it at the time. I probably could have done it. But to be honest, all the things I play with these days, I don't need to do it. Just means I can't go for auditions where it's required. But that's okay. DL42, thank you very much for your advice and time. It's very much appreciated. That's all right. It's what I'm here for. It's what the live chats are here for. Give you, what's the word? A forum to ask these things. I can help with what I know, and anything I don't know, I open up to everyone else that's on here, because we do get some very knowledgeable people here on the live chats. Some guy, I've made it a point to be a multi-instrumentalist so I don't get washed out. Yeah, I tried to do that in my younger days, but then as I said before, I ended up so busy in one covers band that it just made no sense. I was better off doing one thing well and getting rewarded for it. And that's the route I took. I know many a player who are bass players and guitarists, so they can double up on work, and all power to them. All power to them. It was something I wanted to do, but I look back, and there were probably periods in the early to mid-90s where I could have learnt guitar chords and maybe have pushed myself as a musician to be more of a guitar player as well as a bass player. But again, I look back on this stuff and it's like, I've had a good run. I won't deny it. I've had a really good run, and I can't wind the clock back 30 plus years and tell myself to pick up a guitar and start learning chords. I did in 1988, and then thought, just stick the bass and do it really, really well, or do it as well as you can and see where it gets you. And as I've said before, it's served me well. It doesn't mean it's for everyone. But there, I'm very much a believer that, life can and does take over all the time, and you have to find pockets where you can do practice and improve your bass playing. And some weeks you're literally scratching your head going, where am I going to get any time to do anything other than life stuff? It's just the way it is. You just got to find, even if it means you have to get up a bit earlier or go to bed a bit later, find that time where you can. DL42, oh, and I'm 57, get away. No, it's never too late. Nope. Anyone can pick up an instrument at any time and do well with it. It's just, have you got the time to devote to pushing yourself to improve and get better? Always into level 42 since 1980. Very good. Play drums, but always wanted to be the next Mark King. There's many of those. Many of those, I can assure you. That's all right. You start where you start, and you I'm one. DL42, are you Daniel Lloyd? I'm just putting the two initials together. Are you Daniel Lloyd? I think it's Daniel Lloyd. You might be. In which case, we have exchanged many a message over 31 years. I'm wondering if you are. No, you're Dave. Okay. Dave, what's the surname, Dave? I used to be on the level 42 email digest, and then I was on the web digest. And I occasionally stick my head into Ultimate 42 on Facebook and various other level 42 things. Dave. Wonder what the surname is. I'm curious now. What's your surname? Wonder if we've conversed at some point over the decades. I'm assuming, if you're a level 42 fan, then that you've listened and watched my Mark King interviews that are here on the channel. I'm assuming you have, or you've at least sort of ventured into the channel to find the level 42 content. David Lunn. Can't say we have crossed paths, but anyway, you're very welcome. Well, anything I can help you with on your Mark King level 42 adventure, just ask. I'll help as much as I can. But if you want Mark King interviews, let me just put the links up. 2 seconds. Videos. There we go. So I've met Mark multiple occasions for various things. Yes, I have seen them and some of your reviews. Okay, cool. Anyone else that wants to watch them? There's 2 interviews with Mark King, although I've done a few more actually, but I haven't done the videos for them. And that's that one. That's the 2017 one, 2015 one. There we go. Feast your eyes and ears on those. They're good, good watches, good listens. It tells a lot, and we get on pretty damn good. I can message him most days and I'll get a response, so it's all good. You're seeing them in Swansea this year. Yeah, I'm hoping to see them a couple of times. Unfortunately, at the moment, most of the gigs that are near me fall slap bang on days when I'm gigging. So I've got to probably travel a bit this year, but I'll be at some of them. Deal with that nearer the time, because you never know how my gig schedule's going to change. So, right, it is 2 minutes past 5. I've got a gig to get to after I've had my dinner. Guys and girls, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure today. Thank you for all the messages. Thank you for all new subscribers, the likes, the comments, the shares. It's all fabulous. Just fabulous people. Love you. We are, at this time of play, 24 subscribers away from 4,000. Thank you very much. It's been a long journey, but we're getting there. And everything in the analytics is green and going upwards. So thank you very much, everyone, for your continued support. I really appreciate it. I will see you next Saturday. And we are, just to remind myself, next Saturday, we're doing 12 till 3. 12 o'clock here in the UK, midday. So I will see you at midday next week. More content going up through the week. There'll be some tomorrow and then through the rest of the week. And yeah, busy old week next week. 3 gigs on the bounce, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So need to get my thinking head on, but try and get as much content sort of prepared early on in the week so I can get it out. And you guys can feast your eyes on it while it gets very busy for me while I'm practicing all the stuff I've got to do for next weekend. So on that note, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the regulars popping in. It's great to see you. If you're watching after the event, feel free to still leave comments. If I get a notification saying there's a comment on a video, I reply to it pretty quick. So it's all good. It's all good. So I will see you for live chat 104 next Saturday, midday, bright and breezy. Bring your cereal. You can wear your pajamas if you like. And I will see you for that live chat midday next week. Have a great week. Enjoy yourselves. If you're traveling, if you like Patrick Sweeney driving to a gig, please be careful. Look after yourselves. There are idiots out on the road. Okay. So drive carefully. Look after yourself. Have a great week. Enjoy your bass playing. If you're out gigging, play a blinder. Goes without saying, doesn't it? Take care. See you Saturday. Have a great week. Take it easy.